talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines, just coming up to 1 minute past 10, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Mikel Arteta claims Arsenal are a better side with Victor Gykeres, who's ended his 9-game goal drought. talkSPORT's Gabby Agbonlahor says Gykeres isn't world-class, but he's good enough.
Will he be an elite striker? I don't think he will. Will he do a job for Arsenal and help them get it over the line? Champions League or Premier League? Yes, he will.
Gykeres scored twice in Arsenal's 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. Eddie Howe is challenging Newcastle to build on their 3-0 win over Benfica. He wants to see more of that in the league. Meanwhile, following player protests in Spain, La Liga's controversial plan to take a game to the US has been cancelled. Here's Kev Hatchard.
I do think there's still a lot of uneasiness about playing these league games outside of the countries they're in. And I'm delighted, to be honest. I think the longer we can resist this, the better it's going to be.
In the Championship, Frank Lampard's urging his Coventry players not to get carried away with their best ever start to a season.
People will get excited, and I know that, and maybe it ramps up more when you win games. That's fine. Our job is to stay on it and stay diligent and understand that if we drop any standards, we won't have that. So we must keep going.
Cov are 4 points clear at the top after a 2-1 win at Portsmouth. You can watch Lampard and John Mousinho almost come to blows at talksport.com. And some good news to finish. Former British and Irish Lions coach Sir Ian McGee says his prostate cancer is all gone and under control.
Prostate cancer is recoverable, and it would be a great shame if people missed that opportunity to have a scan.
McGeekin's now urging the government to introduce a national screening programme.
talkSPORT News.
Grooming gang victims tell Jess Phillips to step down over a chaotic inquiry, and the Chancellor says she's not satisfied with the latest cost of living figures. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
A dry day for most of us, sunny spells and a few showers. Milder in the south, northern coasts are breezy, and it'll turn increasingly wet and windy in the southwest come late afternoon.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. So, an English clean sweep in Europe with wins for Arsenal, Newcastle and Manchester City. Is there something special brewing in North London? Meanwhile, have La Liga been forced into an embarrassing climb down? Also today, is this a springboard season for Anthony Gordon? Has Kompany reshaped his image? Owning your mistakes, is that a pillar of strong leadership? Are we seeing elements of football snobbery coming to the fore? And amidst a mini slump, can Arne Slot reverse the tide in Frankfurt tonight? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Now, you don't look happy. You've lost something, and
Glasses.
I'm not sure what it is.
Glasses.
Your glasses,
Yeah, I can't see
okay.
a bloody thing.
Now, you were sitting out in reception there, making a bunch of calls and texting people. Now, if you were texting somebody, you had your glasses.
Indeed.
Okay. All right. The hunt's on. They're through the glass. They're working back. So
Sorry to disturb you
okay.
coming in and out whilst I know how much that you don't like that.
And I know how much you enjoy doing that. Danny Murphy, good morning.
Good morning.
How was Monday at West Ham Brentford? And was the place empty at the end of home fans?
It emptied a little bit. There was a lot of discontent. Obviously, the performance was woeful. I'm not sure how quickly it's going to take Nuno to turn things round, but they need some momentum, some wins quickly.
Yeah.
Because they looked devoid of confidence. Brentford were terrific, but West Ham that was as bad as I've seen them. He's got a big job on his hands.
It's worrying, isn't it?
Although he did leave, it was strange. The team, when I saw the team sheet, I was like, oh no, I felt, because most of the players who've been away on international duty, he left them on the bench. Maybe because he's been working with the ones who've been left back.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he changed it at half time. They were a little bit better second half.
Well, he must have known, mustn't he? I mean, with due respect to what he may or may not have on his hands, he wouldn't have gone in there blind.
No.
So he would have made himself aware of the playing squad and taken the job on with the idea he won't want to be in a club that can't give him a chance to have some moderate level of success, whatever that might be at this moment in time. He might be just steering them away from the relegation zone.
Yeah.
So I would think that whilst it looks quite bleak at this moment in time, and a perfect storm for all those dissenters against David Sullivan's ownership of West Ham, because not only do they hate you because of the stadium, they now hate you because of the team, the condition of the team.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier.
The Callum Wilson dilemma
at West Ham.
Not playing him at all.
Well, apparently he's on a huge pay-as-you-play deal, but
well, that can't be down to the manager's concern, can it?
No, I wouldn't think so. But he brought a young lad. He started with no striker and then brought a young lad on ahead of him. And the little snippets I've seen of Callum Wilson this season when he has come on the pitch, he looks physically fine.
Yeah, could do a job for somebody, couldn't he?
He was chewing.
Good morning to Jake, who I met in the tube going up to Euston yesterday late afternoon, the Northern Line. Big fan of the show, big fan of Simon's. I really enjoyed chatting to you, mate. Some of the things you've remembered that we have done on this show, I had forgotten, and it was good to speak to you again. So thank you so much for your chat. I don't know about you, Simon. I tuned into Newcastle last night, and I was watching some of that. Didn't see Arsenal. Saw the highlights this morning. By God, they gave a good old thrashing to Atletico Madrid, 4-0. I mean, I'll ask you straight: is there something brewing in North London? Something special brewing in North London?
Well, it's something that's been gestating for a period of time, and we've been waiting for it to arrive in some level of success rather than we're getting better, we're getting closer. So with the squad that he's assembled and with the backing that he's been given, Arsenal are doing what they should be doing, which is winning football matches, being extremely potent in games, and having a bench now that can change up and change down. They've got resources left, right and centre. They've got an embarrassment of riches. They've got players that aren't even featuring, that aren't fit, like Jesus and Havertz and Madueke that's injured, that are going to come back into the squad. This is a good squad. This is a squad built to win something.
There you go.
And it has to win something this season, don't you think, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the most impressive thing about Arsenal that I'm watching,
they don't concede, Dan.
But their attitude without the ball is phenomenal. There's no egos. They don't carry anyone.
Yeah.
And it starts from the front always. Gykeres, brilliant without the ball. The wide boys work tremendously hard. Everyone's at it. As soon as they lose the ball, as a mindset, bam, back in shape, we're going to get it back.
Yeah.
Honestly, they look powerful. They look relentless at the minute. We know football, it can change quite quickly, so I wouldn't get too carried away. But yeah, your eyes don't lie. What we're seeing at the moment, they've leaped into the position of favourites.
Absolutely. Top of the table in the Premier League, just 3 goals conceded. 3 wins from 3 in the Champions League. No goals conceded. And then, as Danny mentioned, they've got this fellow, Gykeres, whatever you think of him. He puts the ball in the back of the net, and he did it in a scruffy old fashion last night. No goals in his previous 7 before last night, but 2 scruffy ones to end that duck. And Gykeres says, and Arteta says on Gykeres, we're having him.
All of us, because he makes us a much better team. I think we become much more unpredictable. He's so physical, he opens the spaces for everybody. The way he presses the ball, holds the ball, it's just phenomenal. And then, the ice on the cake. And the biggest thing that we're going to debate about him is goals. He says that he scored 2 very different ones today, and hopefully he starts to get some momentum and a good run of goals.
Danny, no other way to ask you than this. What is Victor Gykeres?
He's a very good centre-forward who knows how to play the role. Very physical, very unselfish, bit old school, if you like.
He's a bit like Diego Costa in your book.
That's not a bad comparison. Yeah, not bad at all. I think he's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. Because he doesn't stop running in behind. He'll fight you. His touch is decent. He's not as aesthetically pleasing as others in terms of his skill or link up, if little one touches round the corner and things like that. It's not really his game. But I think Arteta nailed it. He said that he makes them a better team than they were previously, and I thoroughly agree with that statement.
Is he an elite striker? Does he need to be in this team?
Well, they needed someone, yeah. and he fits the bill quite nicely because he's got that wonderful attitude that you want from a striker to work for the team. I don't think his ego. He's not going to be overly concerned that he doesn't score every game as long as the team's winning. But when you make a signing, what you're trying to do is improve the 11 at a top club, and he's done that because he's a more orthodox forward than Havertz. Havertz has got talent and he's a clever footballer, but Gykeres is much more intimidating, much more a focal point for them.
When you look at the squad, Danny, has Arteta built a flawless squad?
It's better than they've ever had before.
Where's the weakness?
I think
there you go, Dan. There you go.
Yeah, there's not many. I still think Rice is a huge player for them. I think if you took him out, they've not got anybody like him.
Are they creative enough in the middle of the park? Do they have that clever ball in them that can unlock defences that are just concentrating on stopping Arsenal having any space? Who's got that clever ball in them?
Eza.
Like
you saw for the equaliser against Man City.
Yeah.
Odegaard when he's fit.
But do they need this clever ball when they're so good defensively?
You do need a mixture, yeah. You do.
Yeah.
But they've got it.
So, I mean, it's happy birthday, Arsene Wenger. 76 today. Danny, if Arteta ends a 22-year wait for the Premier League or he delivers the club's first ever Champions League trophy, where will Arteta sit alongside Arsenal's greatest manager? On a par with Wenger, or he might eclipse him?
No, I think Wenger won so much and created such a legacy there. Although Arteta would be lauded, and rightly so, he'd need to do it more than once, I think, to be talked about in the same breath. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter whether he's behind him, in front of him, or level with him. They won't care. Arsenal fans are just craving being at the top.
There is a similar feel to Klopp. What Klopp did at Liverpool,
there is a long,
30-year wait.
I mean, when Wenger came in 96 and won the Premier League in 98, it wasn't 1976 as Arsenal won the league, had it? There wasn't a 22-year gap, was there? In this instance, there'll be such a long gap between Arsenal winning the Premier League that it affords Arteta the opportunity to be considered in the conversation with a revolutionary like Arsene Wenger. Because Arsene Wenger not only changed Arsenal's fortunes from a side that were competing and had won things under George Graham, but were always seemingly in the shadow of Manchester United, into the side that changed the way footballers think about football, the way that footballers are treated, the professionalism of football clubs, the disciplines behind it, and the culture. And that was all a massive sea change from it wasn't just the only way, because you still had a different culture. Man United had a different culture. You know, Ferguson was still dealing with the English mentality of a few people going out with a few beers and not looking after themselves, and they still dominated English football.
Right.
So whilst Wenger changed the perspective and did it a different way, it wasn't just the only way that was successful. So I think Wenger had a revolution attached to him, but Arteta has done, I think, lots of good things at Arsenal. He's turned what was a stadium that was sort of ambivalent at times and almost empathetic into a fully engaged stadium now, with fans really at it and across it, so much so that Arsenal fans become even more irritated than they were before. And now, I mean, every time I get in a cab is a bloody Arsenal fan crowing about what they're going to do this season.
The other thing is the discipline, Simon, is the things like the Aubameyang situation.
Yes.
At the time,
he was supported in that, wasn't he?
He was supported, but he took
it by the horns.
Yeah. And that they were risks.
Yeah.
I think what he's built is...
He had to do that. And I think Aubameyang was a gift for him, because Aubameyang was so destructive.
There was still some discontent around when it happened.
Inside the dressing room?
No, from the fans, because there was a lot of love for him, and the fact that they didn't really have a ready-made to go. He just said, doesn't matter, we'll crack on without you.
Yeah. Danny, you're Liverpool through and through. When you look at Arsenal, are you worried?
Well, I think from my position in the job I do, you always want to see competitive league, and you don't want. Last year wasn't really. Second half of the season was done, wasn't it?
Wear your Liverpool hat for me.
Well, yeah, you've got to be. I mean, this is a hell of an impressive side that look really determined to get over the line, but you can't really, as a football club or a group of players or supporters, get too involved worrying about everyone else. You know, you watch your own team, you want to get that in order, you want to Liverpool need to improve, don't they?
Are you more worried about Arsenal than you are about Liverpool? Because Liverpool in the last 2 games, I mean, Slot has turned around and said things that I find slightly irksome, which is the fact that he doesn't like teams kind of setting up with low blocks, as if people should set up the way he wants them to, so he can get the best outcome.
Yeah, well,
and then he rewrote history in the Palace game by saying that Liverpool were competitive in this game. Liverpool could have been 5-0 down.
The comments about the Palace game on a couple of occasions I've heard, he's obviously just got a selective memory.
Yeah.
Which can happen with managers. The thing that's been jumped on regarding him bringing up long balls and low blocks with United, he didn't say he didn't like it or he was angry at it.
He's saying how United have become that team now.
Yeah, but he was saying we should know what's come. We've got to do better than that. You know, he's not. Yeah. He didn't say it as a.
But he used it as a weapon against Burnley, as if Burnley should set up in such a way that would enable Liverpool to win.
Well, I think you can interpret it as him using it as a weapon, or you can interpret it as him as just stating the facts of what's happened.
Let's put it out there then as we hit the first break this morning. Arsenal fans, where are you? When you look at this squad, is there something special brewing in North London? And it's you lot. It's Arsenal. You're onto something, both in the Champions League and the Premier League. When you look at the current squad, is it well nigh flawless? Give us a call, 03717 223344 810 89. And they were found. A gentleman working in the canteen very kindly gave back Simon's glasses. We're live in talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning, Wednesday, October the 22nd. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. I have to say, Newcastle, Harvey Barnes take a bow, Nick Pope take a bow. We'll get to that. That was a fantastic end to that match. Arsenal, are they onto something? Are they virtually flawless? And is there something special brewing in North London? It would appear there is. There is Webbo, John Webster. Good morning to you, John. You're a Manchester United fan. Jim, you've asked the question, where is Arsenal's weakness? I'm going to be honest here. I can't see any. I've said at the start of the season, this Arsenal team will win the league. I don't think they'll win the Champions League, but the Premier League is theirs. I can't remember the last time I've seen a defence this strong. Is that a fair point, Danny? Even this early, we're in mid-October now, almost through October.
Well, it's more the fact that they're not reliant now on one particular player defensively. They've got so much backup. You know, even if you look at Lewis Skelly's performance last night coming in for Calafiori, you'd argue they enhanced them. You got Timber and Ben White at right back. You got 4 centre-halves now. I still think Rice is a massive player for them. I know they brought in Norgard from Brentford, who is a good player, actually. I like him a lot. But Rice has got that physical athleticism. And he's so good on the press.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they wouldn't win games without him, but I still think he's the one. For now, he's become, for me, their main.
Let's hear from the Arsenal fan. Incidentally, there's Jimmy Pitts. Good morning to you, Jimmy. Jim, please, stop it. Stop it with the Arsenal nonsense. They are serial chokers, and this season will be no different.
Well, it could happen that way.
Jimmy.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, City are flying.
Yeah.
Liverpool will improve.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Just a case of how long when he finds that settled team and rhythm. But yeah, there's always a chance they might not.
No.
And then the question arises, does someone else need to come in? But
you're getting a bit like Simon with your predictions, incidentally.
What do you mean?
You said Liverpool would beat United on Sunday.
Well, I think most people did.
Just saying.
And if they could finish their chances, they would have done comfortably.
Keith, good morning to you. Big Arsenal fan. What do you think? Is something special going on here?
Well, I have to say that I think it's a fantastic team and squad. But I'm not like a Spurs fan that, you know, they win 2 games and after the second game of the season is celebrating the league. We're only 8 games in. You know, let's talk about this after 38 games and see where we end up. I never like to celebrate before the actual end of the season. That's the first thing. But if there is a weakness, I think it's up front. If Gykeres gets injured, and make no mistake, he's playing every game. If he gets injured, if you look at our bench last night, there was nothing on the bench. No one you could bring up top to replace him. When City won the league a few years ago, I remember when Haaland came off, they had the chap who was playing for Atletico last night, I forget his name for the moment, Alvarez, a World Cup winner to bring up front. We've got no cover up front. Havertz, when he gets fit, is not even a striker. Jesus has been a waste of space for me. And then my other concern is also we need to score more goals from open play. I think we are a little bit too reliant on dead ball situations, which is great. Gabriel is an absolute colossus. I mean, the whole Ballon d'Or situation is a bit of a joke. I mean, this guy's got to be one of the most important players for any club currently.
On your bench last night, you've got Trossard, you've got Marino, who can do a variety of jobs, can he not?
Oh, come on.
I kind of take your point, though, looking at it. No, you're onto something there, Keith. But Keith,
the only thing I'd say is Havertz won't be that far away from getting back. And although Havertz ain't an out-and-out striker, the year he played most and he did pretty well in that position. But I take his point. There's no team in the world that has 2 perfect players for each position. You can have similar types, but you can't have. It's just not possible.
Keith, before you leave us, top of the table in the Premier League. Almost through October, 3 goals conceded. 3 wins from 3 in the Champions League. No goals conceded. It's all right, isn't it? You're loving this, surely.
Absolutely loving it. And I've got to say, if you don't concede goals, if you don't lose games, okay, that's the first. George Graham always used to say, and I always liked him as a manager tactically. He said, obviously, you build from the back, and Arteta's done that. You know. Great defences do win your leagues, but we have to do more up front. I think we need another striker to buy probably in January, maybe in the summer. I think that's where we're lacking, and I want to see more goals from open play. Yeah. But apart from that, I think, I was discussing it with my son last night. He said, which player do you like? I said, I like them all.
Well, that's it. And it's not often Atletico Madrid, Keith, concede 4. Here's Matthew, big Arsenal fan. Is there something special brewing, Matthew? What do you think?
Yeah, I do believe so. But I'm erring on the side of caution. Reason being is that I've tried to be pragmatic and look at every game that we've played so far. And in every game we've played, even last night with that Raya error, we've given up a big error. Now, the bigger teams, last season we weren't giving up those errors, and we had a good record against them. But this season, the bigger teams have capitalized on that. So if you look at the Gabriel error in the City game, that caused the goal. If you look at the Mosquero missed kick in the Newcastle game that led to the corner that led to the goal. If you look at the Zubimendi unnecessary foul that led to the free kick in the Liverpool game. So we do give up big chances. I think what's happened now is that we are in a position where we have more composure. We definitely finished games stronger than we did last season. And we have a bench that we can turn to and look at and say, we can depend on the guys coming in not to drop levels.
Right. So, Matthew, before you leave us, and you seem fairly thorough in your look at what you've got.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Tell me straight. Do you win the Premier League? Do you win the Champions League? Do you win both?
I think in a cup competition, as Spurs have proven, you have a chance of winning even if you're not in good form. I would love to win the Champions League because you never won it before, but the yardstick is really the Premier League. And we've had so many chances being second that we deserve to do something better this season.
Okay, Matthew, great call. Thank you. I'm going to squeeze David in just before we hit the break. David, good morning. What's going on at your club?
So, it's just amazing right now. I've been through Arsenal 40 years now, but I just want to mention a very small 3 points and then the main point. The first point that a lot of people seem to forget is this is Arteta's first managerial job. So what he's done is absolutely fantastic. I've been a bit disappointed and argumentative about a few things, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, in terms of winning stuff, he doesn't have to win something. As long as we keep improving, doing well, competing, for me, for the next couple of years, that's the main thing.
He doesn't have to win something.
No, he doesn't.
Incidentally, are you finishing a yogurt at the moment? No, but he doesn't have to win something. Is that what seriously, David?
As long as we're competing, that's the main thing. But the main thing I really wanted to say was really, in terms like the weakness, and it is very controversial, and I speak to about my friends, I think David Raya is not as good as Ramsdale still. I think he's got loads of mistakes are going to happen. He doesn't clear the ball out very well. If you watch a lot of the games, he punches it out a couple of feet in front of him, and luckily we've got such good defence to sweep it up and get rid of it. The amount of times he's been caught off the line is unbelievable. I think he just looks good because of the defence, and I think David Raya is just going to cause some big mistakes at some point, unfortunately.
I think he's in the minority. Most people think they're much better because of David Raya. He's a terrific goalkeeper, but I actually agree with him on not having to win something. If you get 98 points and lose the league on the last day of the season and lose the Champions League final in extra time through a bad refereeing decision, what do you do? Get rid of the manager? It'd be ridiculous. I don't think he has to win something, but he'd have to be damn unlucky and be competitive right to the end in both competitions to be forgiven.
Do you think they'll win one of the two?
Yeah, I do now.
Which one?
The league.
The Premier League?
I think PSG, if they've got everyone fit, they're on a different level.
Okay. We're going to talk City and we'll talk Newcastle as well. 10:30 this Wednesday morning.
Victor by name and victor by nature. As Arsenal's perfect start to the Champions League continues, Mikel Arteta is praising the mighty Victor Gykeres.
It was about keeping that belief on himself, that emotional state that he can enjoy and play freely. I think he's certainly done that today again. He was rewarded with 2 goals. And as you said, biggest smile on his face.
Gykeres scored twice in their 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Eddie Howe wants Newcastle to bottle their European form to take back to the Premier League. Benfica were beaten 3-0. And Anthony Gordon becomes the first Magpies player to score in 3 consecutive Champions League games.
Anthony played very direct. I thought athletically he was excellent because he put a real big effort in both on and off the ball. So yeah, good night for him.
Elsewhere in Spain, Pep Guardiola was pleased to see a different name on Man City's score sheet. Bernardo Silva joined Erling Haaland in scoring in their 2-0 win over Villarreal. Meanwhile, following player protests in Spain, La Liga's controversial plan to stage Villarreal's game against Barcelona in the US has been cancelled. Here's Kevin Hatchard.
I do think there's still a lot of uneasiness about playing these league games outside of the countries they're in. And I'm delighted, to be honest. I think the longer we can resist this, the better it's going to be.
And legendary Lions coach Sir Ian McGee says his prostate cancer is all gone and under control. He's now urging the government to introduce a national screening programme. All your latest is at talkSPORT.com.
The fellas came up to talk to me in the tube last night. Were telling me how much they enjoy the boxing content on this show. And of course, Simon, you're right across that. Lawrence Okoli will be joining us later on this morning. Lawrence Okoli is going to be fighting in Africa fairly soon. We'll get more on that later on this morning. Of course, tomorrow lunchtime at 12 noon. Spencer will join us. Arsenal fans, thanks for all the calls. And I mean that. I mean, let's wait and see what happens. We've only taken 2 or 3 of you this morning. We will get back to you because plenty to get through this morning with Danny and with Simon. Manchester City. They go to Villarreal and they win by 2-0. Erling Haaland, almost inevitably, and Bernardo Silva got the 2 first half goals. But when you look at Haaland, what have Manchester City got in this guy? 24 goals in 14 games for club and country. 12 consecutive games in a row that he has found the back of the net. And this is incredible. He's still only 25. He's now in the top 10 Champions League scorers of all time, with 53 goals in 51 matches. Before last night, Danny, it's amazing. Before last night, Pep was asked if City are maybe too reliant on Erling.
To score 4 and 5, yeah, at the end. Yeah, it's our key man, so what can I say? At the same time, we cannot rely on, we want to do our own good things, so just with Erling, And I don't have any doubts, when there will be a luck, that players will score. Omar is the top scorer, and I know Sabio one moment would happen, and Oscar as well, and TG and Phil. They are really good scoring goals. You cannot deny how good is Phil in that position, and Tijani as well. And when Rico should play in that position, as a guy always arrive in the final third really, really good. So we have to. You have Erling, it's fine, but we'll be stronger. You have to feel, okay, I will help the team to be strong.
The guy is a phenomenon, Simon. Erling Haaland. I mean, to be in the Champions League, the top 10 scorers of all time with 53 and 51.
Yeah.
And being the age he is, but it's quite remarkable what he's doing. Here's the thing, though. They want momentum, as every top team does. But are they one injury away with Erling from hitting a blip in the road?
I don't know. I mean, Haaland is a product of a new generation of strikers. You know, we listened to Alan Shearer talking the other day, quite rightly saying that top strikers were benchmarked by 1 in 2, and now they're not. And look at the goal score. I mean, look at Harry Kane's record. Look at Robert Lewandowski's record. And obviously, you bring Messi and Ronaldo into the equation, but as centre forwards we're talking about, there are remarkable achievements now, but they're playing for remarkable sides. And the fact that he's been playing in a Manchester City side for 3 or 4 seasons that has been so, up until last year, so dominant, isn't a surprise that he was able to put himself in a situation where he scored so many goals. He's a remarkable talent. I mean, I saw him on Saturday, and I was listening to some of the analysis from Mika Richards, which I didn't quite understand. I didn't think his run was so wonderful. The ball that put him in for the second goal was the wonderful thing about how he created that opportunity. But he also misses chances. But he's a remarkable player and score. And what I've seen from him this season is a seemingly different outlook, a more mature approach to leadership. And he seems to be being pushed forward. You know, they have these, which I don't ever understand, these leadership groups that people have got to be part of. But he seems to be being pushed forward by the Manchester City hierarchy, and by that I mean Pep and his colleagues, to be more of a leader. And of course, last year we heard a lot of things being said, and some of it was a bit over the top about what level of footballer he was besides scoring goals. His game contribution was very limited. I think Roy Keane talked about him last year, saying that he's got the sort of the rest of his game is a League One level rather than just putting the ball in the back of the net. The hardest thing in a football is putting the ball in the back of the net, and if that's all he does, that'll do for most people.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, City are a side that allow players to be good in it, but he is taking it to a new level.
His all-round game at the minute is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, that was my point.
He looks physically brilliant, fit as a fiddle, which allows him to do more work defensively for the team. He looks more powerful than ever. He's a phenomenal talent. And yes, people like Kane, Lewandowski got great numbers, but not numbers like this. Nowhere near in percentage. Right? I mean, he hasn't just done it at City either. His goals to games, you know, like are equal.
At Dortmund, yeah.
And before.
And also, in fairness, playing for his country.
Yeah. Every team he plays for, his record doesn't change. It's just ridiculous. I mean, he's posting numbers that only 2 players have ever posted, like Messi and Ronaldo. I mean, he's got a way to go there, but this is special stuff.
Yeah.
And
are they morphing into a one-man team?
Well, I think there's a fair argument to say they'd be less effective.
Would they be up without a paddle, though, if they didn't have him in the team?
No, because they've got so much quality. Mamouche will come back. He's a super talent, Mamouche. Really good player. Cherky will be back. They've got other players who can score. And I still think they'd be in the top 4. But I don't think they can win the league without... If Haaland's out for a few months... Because when you watch City play, even though they've been on a good run recently, they're still giving up a lot of chances. It's a bit like Liverpool.
I mean, Harry Kane's got 74 goals in 70 games for Bayern Munich.
For Bayern, yeah. But look at his Tottenham record.
Yeah, but Tottenham... I mean, with due respect...
Well, Dortmund, you would put Dortmund and Tottenham on a similar level,
Would you?
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
Would you? And would you put the Bundesliga on the same level as the Czech Premier League?
No, but you can only go on the numbers based on the teams you played for.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And so I'm not saying Kane's not a wonderful player. Of course he is.
Okay.
But he's still not hit the not quite the numbers that Haaland's done it at every team he's been at.
Right. What more can you say?
Yeah.
Jack in Manchester, why are City not in the conversation to win the league? They had...
well, they are.
We all hope they don't.
An off-season last season, they finished 3rd. Off the back of winning 4 in a row, which has never been done before, and the season before the treble. He's got a point, hasn't he?
Yeah.
We haven't...
You can't write them off.
No.
But what I would say, and we're talking 8 games in, the reality is if you watch all the games, most weekends, like most of us do, the teams pushing Arsenal are nowhere near as good defensively as Arsenal. City and Liverpool are giving up chances. No, even Everton had chances at City at the weekend. I say even Everton, don't mean that disrespectfully, but what I'm talking about, every team that plays City.
Right.
And Liverpool are giving up chances.
There's a mean-spiritedness to some extent, which is understandable because City have dominated.
Yeah.
And people don't want them to dominate.
No.
So people are quite glad that they're not dominating, so they quite happily discount them from the equation because they've had a good bloody run.
I think that's a good point, actually. I think when you don't want something to happen, you don't talk about it.
Yeah, but Jack's got a point. Because of what they've achieved before, you would think they would be in the conversation more now.
Well, I think if Haaland stays fit like he is now, they're in it. Because he's changing games on his own.
Yeah.
And nobody can cope with him. Nobody.
Right.
Even the Arsenal, he scored at Arsenal, didn't he? You know, nobody can cope with him. He just outrun them. His physical presence was too much.
How do we measure success for Newcastle in Europe? I mean, to beat Benfica, yeah, it's not bad. To beat them by 3-0 is pretty darn good, is it not, Danny?
It was a good result, yeah. I mean, they rode the luck a little bit in the first half, didn't they? Keeper Pope made a couple of great saves. But yeah, it's a great win for them after losing their last European home game.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot to be, excited about for Newcastle fans. Signings, they haven't seen Wissa yet, but they've brought two good forwards in for one. The squad's been bolstered up generally. They're not as depleted in certain areas of the pitch than they've been in years gone by. I think it could be a really good season. They've got to they ended up losing at the weekend after playing quite well. They've got to try and get a bit more consistency in the Premier League. But yeah, overall...
Yeah. You've given me a puzzled look.
Well, no,
for the first time in your life.
I'm looking at Benfica and saying, okay, the name of Benfica resonates with people, doesn't it? Because of Eusebio, because of previous achievements, and because we've got.
Yeah, but they should beat them as well.
They should beat them,
yeah.
But they got beat by Karabag at home. So the fact that Newcastle have done a job on them is what Newcastle should do. And we're sort of saying, well, is this a great moment because they've beaten Benfica? Well, Benfica aren't a powerhouse. They might be a big name,
sure.
But the team isn't a powerhouse.
Yeah. What Newcastle did, though, was record back-to-back wins in the Champions League for the first time since 2003. And that in itself, says Eddie, is progress.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy game, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, Benfica, as you say, huge European experience. They've got a manager that's been there and done everything in the game. So we knew today was a difficult game. And especially off the back of Saturday's result for us, that ramped the pressure on us, really. And we had to handle that. And that's why the win and the way that we won, really pleasing. And hopefully we can take that into our next few games, because we're going to need to back it up. One game in isolation in the Champions League means nothing. Now it's all about the next few games.
So, Danny, for club and country, is this going to be the springboard season for Anthony Gordon?
Could be. Yeah. I mean, there's never been a doubt in his talent. I've always liked him from the minute I saw him at Everton, mainly because of his work ethic and his bravery. He's always willing to get on the ball and try and make things happen. Not so keen on the diving around a lot, but anyway. He looks really fit. He looks hungry. I've not seen him play yet this season and where he's not involved. He's always trying to impact the game.
Yeah.
He's lightning quick. He can beat people. He should score more goals. But yes, is the answer to the question. This could be a huge season for him. If he stays at this level, I've seen him the last month or so, for England and Newcastle, he could cement a place in the England side. He could, really have a good season and take himself to the next level. Because ultimately, whether you play wide as a 10 or a 9, false 9, you're judged on goals and assists.
Yeah.
It don't matter what else you do. And he's got to get those numbers up.
Not only were there a few more than decent performances last night and a few goals around the place, there was also an embarrassing climb down, and we'll get to that. 11:15 this Wednesday morning. is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. Yeah, on the subject of climb downs, I think we've just witnessed a fairly embarrassing one over in Spain, and La Liga have been forced into one. You might remember the planned Villarreal-Barcelona La Liga match planned for, not in Spain, but Miami, Florida in December. And it was all systems go for that. Although we saw what some of the players thought about that at the weekend in the La Liga games. Some of the players took part in a 15-second organised process whereby they stood motionless straight after kickoff. And that was not covered by Spanish TV cameras at the weekend. And the whole thing really got a huge conversation going about where this was going to end up. I'll tell you what it's ended up. The match between Villarreal and Barcelona in Miami, Florida, planned for December, has now been postponed, with the promoters relevant citing uncertainty in Spain and, quotes, insufficient time to organise the event. So it's all off and it ain't happening. And it appears the players are going to get their way because they felt the non-dialogue aspect of that had really been out of line. Simon, is this what you get when you choose railroading over open dialogue with players and fans?
Yeah, I guess to some extent. Relevant Sports have been campaigning for some time. Charlie Stilentano and Stephen Ross, who owns the Miami Dolphins, who are behind Relevant Sports, have been campaigning for some time to have a domestic fixture in the US. I don't think the US soccer particularly want it. I don't think the MLS particularly want it. The reasons why these teams want it is well rehearsed. They want to generate more revenue. And it's also well rehearsed that the reason why they need to generate more revenue is because they need to keep on feeding the cost base. And the main beneficiaries of that cost base are, of course, the players. So I disagree with the principle of an overseas game. I disagree with it. I don't think the Premier League should want to do it. I don't think it has the same relevance in sport that it should have in terms of the fact that the away games are played and the whole structure of football is preceded upon away and home games, right?
La Liga wanted it. They would have said it would have been a decisive step in the global expansion of our competition.
And so then I move on to the argument about the commerciality of the game and the reasons why they're doing it, because the powerhouse is the Premier League's dwarfing everybody else. And then I move on to the area of, well, with the players, you would appear to me to be the beneficiaries of every commercial discussion that ever advances money in the game. And I would have no issue if you weren't. If the only beneficiaries of such a situation were the clubs and the owners of the clubs, and they were enriching their pockets, and you weren't taking at least 80% of that money off the table, I would say, well, perhaps there's a place for this conversation. But there is an element of, the hell are you complaining about? They're going to hide. Honestly, I believe this, and I shouldn't say it so emphatically because I don't know the workings of their minds, and I'm not them. I don't believe that they're campaigning about the structure of the game. I believe they're being put up against it by the unions that get involved and want to have their seat at the table because they want to sit at a table and tell you what they don't want to do. They want to tell you that they want to take all the money out of the game and the players should be protected and their contract should be this and there should be freedom of movement and we want to get paid fortunes and players shouldn't have to do this. But when it comes to actually accepting that the mechanisms that do all that for them involve bigger tournaments, more games, travelling around the world, they don't want to do that. So I don't understand what the point of a conversation is.
Well, I think Real Madrid's goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois has got his own mind. And he said it's not fair to change rules mid-season without consulting us. He said it adulterates the competition totally. La Liga put it in because it's in their interest to do that. And it adulterates the competition. Plus, it doesn't comply with the players' agreement.
Okay.
So they forgot one thing. Speak to the players.
Well, let me ask you a question. How many times are the players actually involved in the rules creation? And how many times could you ask a player about the rules and they actually know them? And how many times do the players abuse the rules and try to influence the rules and try to co-opt people into their version of the rules? So I've never seen... I know we've got representation on IFAB, and we've seen people like Marco van Basten go on IFAB asking for the entire scrapping of the offside rule with that intellectual little gem that came out from him. So we've seen those sort of things in the past. So this idea, what's happening is a battle for power. And who has the power and who has the control and who has the influence. And players are now being led into a pathway to believe, with all due respect, I don't think they should be lemmings. I don't think Bob Lord should be exhumed and told how football runs in the 21st century through his eyes. But I do look at it and go, The players are so well recognised, so well rewarded, and they are recognised and rewarded because other people have done deals that have created a landscape in which they can benefit from. And now what they want is they want to go, well, we want to do this, but we don't want to do that. And that's the challenge when you create economic
It might have been an idea, Simon, to talk to them about.
Well, I don't agree with
what end?
Look, there's certain things, good management, good leadership, generally is good communicates. Yeah. And there are things in my football career that were communicated to the players, and there was conversations had, right? Certain things. But big important stuff like where you go on tour or if you're going to play a game elsewhere and all, that stuff didn't get talked about because you're paid and you should be getting on with it. That I agree with. A lot of what he's saying there, and it might be sort of hiding behind it, but he's right in terms of the fairness of the league. If you're an opposing player,
who's right?
Courtois,
right?
Yeah, because if you're Real Madrid and you're fighting Barca for the league,
yeah,
and one of the games, Barca, they don't have to go to Villarreal, which is a tough place to go. They're going to play them in a neutral environment, but those points are going to matter. Then the week later, you've got to go to Villarreal in a more hostile environment with the home fans, because all of a sudden that Barcelona-Villarreal game that was going to be played in Miami,
right?
It's going to be full of Barcelona fans.
Right, so the thing was flawed from the start.
So the meritocracy of it is
who determines the outcomes then? So what should we have next now? Should the players determining how many teams are in a league next?
No.
But then what are we talking about? Because the framework of football is determined by the people that run football, not the players, either the governing bodies or the clubs themselves.
Forget that, Simon. The players shouldn't decide, but they should be consulted.
Not on some stuff.
To what end?
Surely this is the perfect example of what can happen when you don't consult.
So clearly, so are we talking about the principle?
Railroad it through. They'll say yes to this. Well, they didn't.
Are we talking about the principle of being consulted, or are we talking about the likely outcome? Because if the principle of, I'm going to ask you, I'm still going to bloody well do it, right? But for the optics of the conversation, I've asked you, right? You've now been told and you've been considered in the equation. Would it have made any difference? Would we be in a position where the players, we want to do that now? No, they would have said the same thing. So I understand to tick the box. If you indulge people, what you give people is a sense of entitlement. And because we're indulging people, we keep on indulging them and appeasing them. We do it in every walk of life in this country. That's why we have the challenges we do in this country, and we do it in football, right? Stop appeasing people. Sometimes, with due respect to the courtesy of communicating with your employees, sometimes it's a bloody autocracy, and sometimes it's a democracy.
When talkSPORT made the crazy decision to want you and I in Qatar for the World Cup, did they talk to us before it? Yes. Will they talk to us about the World Cup next summer in the US? Of course they will.
That's different.
How's it different?
But that's slightly.
Why is it different?
That's slightly different.
Because we're employees as the players are.
Sure, that's slightly different though.
We're not told you're going.
And by
this is what we've got planned.
Well,
what do you think?
To some extent.
Yeah, but you're self-employed, aren't you? There's difference.
Oh, let's not get into all that.
But in terms of when you're a footballer, your contract stipulates that basically everything you do is you have to do everything they say basically, and your only employer is them. So it's different in that respect. And the other thing, just last thing, sorry, the one thing, is there one Barcelona or Villarreal player saying this is unfair, nobody's talked to us about it?
Yeah, Frankie de Jong said it as well.
He said it.
Barcelona player.
Well, he needs to slap
Let's have a chat about this. Barcelona players were protesting at the weekend. They took part in this 15-second protest, which I think was a fairly eye-catching protest in itself.
Jim, the fact of the matter is, with due respect to the conversation, they're employees.
That's for sure.
And when they become employers,
employee.
Let me tell you the reasons.
You do
why.
as you're told.
Let me tell you the reasons within reason. Within reason. You can't abuse people's human rights, and you can't step above the parapet and change the direction of what's reasonable to ask people to do. You're not asking anything. You're asking somebody. These buggers will get on planes and fly around the world and do themselves whatever they feel like doing every 5 minutes, right? So now all of a sudden, they can't get on a plane. It's about power. It's about influence. And they're being put up by people that want it. So the unions want to create their own little outcome. It's the union that want to be at the table. You ask these players, half of these players, what's involved with this, half of them won't even know. Right? But the unions will know, FIFPro will know, the Spanish Football Union will know, the PFA will know, and they'll get their two penneth in because it's about the opportunity that they want to create. And then you'll talk to these players about these unions and go, what do you think of the union? How did the union look after you? Never heard from them, never saw them, never did anything for me. But in this instance, the unions are representing you in a situation where you've got to travel somewhere to get some extra money.
You've got to laugh though, haven't you? Frankie de Jong, a brilliant player, by the way. I don't even know what he's earning, it's not relevant, but he thinks he's that important but he can come out and talk and say what his club, Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world.
He was asked about it.
I know, but
this
come
is
on.
the culture you're creating.
The bottom line is this is an embarrassing climb down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be, yeah. I mean,
it's a good one.
It's what they're structuring it as is they believe it's not now, but it will be soon. So I don't know what the difference is. They're making this argument that there wasn't enough time. Well, we've known about this game for months and months and months. And despite this, we had this fan pressure group come on the other day that were talking about the idea that they were going to stop this. They won't stop it. It will happen.
I bet our fans could.
It will happen.
If
there's enough money,
game away from Anfield.
If there's enough money in the room, wait and see.
Okay. I mean, Relevant say it's been postponed. La Liga say it's been cancelled. So work out that as you will. But Villarreal Barcelona will now no longer be in Miami, Florida. It will be in Villarreal, if there is such a place. Interesting, great line here before we hit the 11 o'clock bulletin. Stephen Wolves. I love it, mate. Jim, just in the passing, do you know if Wolves were planning a game in Miami anytime soon? Because our boys have tailor-made for it. They've been standing motionless for the past 15 games. Love it. 11 o'clock.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Score a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Lines at 3 minutes past 11. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Victor Gykeres is making Arsenal an even better team. Those are the thoughts of Mikel Arteta and talkSPORT's Danny Murphy.
He's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. Because he doesn't stop running in behind. He'll fight you. His touch is decent. He's not as aesthetically pleasing as others.
Gykeres broke his goal drought with 2 in Arsenal's 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. Meanwhile, Eddie Howe wants Newcastle to bottle their European form and take it into the league. Benfica were beaten 3-0 and Anthony Gordon scored again to keep up his claim for a starting place on England's left. Meanwhile, does Harry Maguire deserve a call-up? Gabby Agbonlahor says the centre-back at least deserves a new Man United contract.
He's been out there. He's been given 100%. And if anyone deserved that winning goal on the weekend against Liverpool, it was Harry Maguire. In his mind as well, he'll be thinking, I want to get back in the England squad. I want to go to the World Cup.
To rugby union, where Sales, Luke Cowan-Dickies avoided a ban after his red card against Saracens was overturned. It means England's hooker is free to play in next month's opening autumn international against Australia. And at the Women's Cricket World Cup, England are batting first against the holders Australia. How are they looking, John Norman?
They're looking really good. 55 without loss, England. We're only in the 9th over. Tammy Beaumont is going at better than a run of ball, 32 from 29. She hit 3 fours from successive deliveries from Kim Garth's last over, and Amy Jones, after a slower start, who she's also picked up 3 boundaries in an over, is starting to match her opening partner. She's 18 not out, and just as I say that, Amy Jones actually has been dismissed. Sutherland with the breakthrough, so England lose their first wicket, 9 overs in, 55 for 1.
Thanks, John. England's bad luck charm. There's loads more content on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
A grooming gang victim who quit the National Inquiry is urging Jess Phillips to resign as safeguarding minister, and another interest rate cut looks likely after inflation held at 3.8% last month. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This winter, treat yourself to the Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 20,000 tyre mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
A dry day for most of us, sunny spells and a few showers. Milder in the south, northern coasts are breezy, and it'll turn increasingly wet and windy in the southwest come late afternoon.
Everybody, 6 minutes past 11 o'clock this Wednesday morning. Wednesday means Danny Murphy, and Danny's with us all the way through until 1 o'clock. It is the 22nd of October. We're flying through the month. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We are live in talkSPORT and live on your TV. Everywhere you want to watch us, you can watch us, even Prime Video. We are there for you. A lot to get through. Well done, Vincent Kompany. Left these shores, went to Germany, took over at Bayern Munich, and now he's got a contract extension. He's with the German club until, if he fancies it, 2029. What will we all be doing in 2029? Will Vincent still be in charge of Bayern Munich? He'd like to think so, I'm quite sure. He probably will be, I'm quite sure. What and where will Arne Slot be with Liverpool? There's a question for you. Because before the ball was kicked this season, it was thought by someone in the studio, amongst others, that this was going to be a special season for Liverpool, because the signing of Florian Wirtz was one thing, but the signing of Alexander Isak was totally another. And all of a sudden, it was who could possibly stop Liverpool? This is Liverpool, who are going through it a bit at the moment. A 4th successive loss means that this is now Liverpool's worst run since November 2014, when Brendan Rodgers was manager. Danny, what has happened? Can you put your finger in it? Because it appears you spend a fortune, you bring in some of Europe's elite, and you've got worse than you were before.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say a lot of the new signings haven't coped very well. That's fair. I think a lot of the top players from last season who are still there aren't at the same level they were last season, which isn't a good mix. I think you could argue that physically in the first few weeks, especially this season, even though they were winning games, they looked a little bit off it. Now, some of them, 4 or 5, didn't get a full pre-season, which all footballers would tell you how important it is in terms of your rhythm, match sharpness and things like that. So I think it's an accumulation of things rather than one specific
But you
thing.
never saw this coming.
No, I don't think any Liverpool fan did. I think the biggest thing is their loss of control and composure in games that they were so good at last year.
But Danny, you said they didn't get a pre-season. When it all kicked off, they won 5 from 5.
Yeah, but not convincingly. You know, a lot of last-minute winners. You know, when you think of McAllister didn't have a pre-season, Isak didn't, Ekitike came halfway. He's been actually the best one of the new boys. Bradley was out injured, and there's another one or two I'm missing as well. So
why is it going wrong now? We're almost through October.
Well, you could argue the last 3 Premier League games, they've gone to win all of them and got done by doing that, especially Chelsea and Man United. Palace, they should have lost, actually. The Palace were really good. But the Chelsea and United games, they went for it and they got done. But the United game in isolation didn't concern me in terms of performance. That was the best one out of all the losses because of the amount of chances they made. They made a hatful of chances to win 2 or 3 games. So that game in isolation is that can happen. The biggest difference I see at the moment, and the problem Liverpool have, is without the ball. I was lauding Arsenal before because of their collective mentality when they don't have the ball. And Liverpool were very much like that last season. Very good defensively, well organised, great controlling games. They've lost that. They've lost that stability and that togetherness when they haven't got the ball. That's what they've got to get back to.
Do you think Arne Slot knows what his best team is?
Yeah, I think he probably does deep down. Yeah, he doesn't look like he does because he's continually changing players, but he's doing that because the levels of fitness and some of the form of the newer players.
Is Verts in it?
Oh, yeah.
Does his best team include Salah as well in time?
In his head it will, yeah, of course. I think
Where are you on the Carragher observation that Salah is beginning not to merit a starting lineup position?
Well, he didn't quite say he didn't merit. He's saying
It shouldn't be an automatic choice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he should be. He shouldn't have to start every game. No, I agree with that. I don't think
shouldn't have to. I mean, that's a different thing from should be able to.
Well, he shouldn't.
He's out of form, isn't he?
For years,
he doesn't work hard for the team.
For years, it didn't matter what he did. He's going to start.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be the case now.
So he's no longer an automatic starter.
No, he shouldn't be. Nobody should be. I don't think any player should be. I've never had that feeling. If he's not playing well,
Declan Rice,
Declan,
well, he deserves.
Haaland, they're out there.
Well, yeah, because they're playing so well, you can't leave him out. Like I just said, Salah for years, you can't leave him out. But nobody should have. What are you going to do? Write that in someone's contract? You can never be dropped.
No, but that's semantics. We're talking about Salah's performances now, rather than his automatic right to be in the side. Is Salah in decline? And Carragher's talking about the fact, and I think he's right to some extent. What Jamie said. There's times when and I know I'm going to probably open myself up to all kinds of abuse. There are times when Salah does look like a very average footballer, but his outcomes and his performances over the years, in terms of his statistics, are so compelling that you can't really make that argument because people pile in on you. He doesn't work hard for the side. He's not in particular form. So, is it something you think is going to manifest itself? Do you think, given the fact you said that he knows his best side and Salah's in that, do you think you're going to find a situation where, in order to get Liverpool going again and adjusting to the personnel,
I think he'll leave him out.
Salah's got to be dropped out.
I think he'll leave him out tonight.
Right?
Yeah, because what it does, first and foremost, it could give him a kick up the backside.
You think he'll leave him out tonight?
I do. I've got a feeling he will. Yeah.
A kick up the backside to what end? Is that going to suddenly make Mo Salah track back and help his fullback out?
Well, let's just deal with the tracking back thing. His lack of defensive effort, has always been there because he's been given
but
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance; it's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that. So when he scores 2 and Liverpool win 3-1, but he still doesn't track back.
You think that's it? You think that ultimately Liverpool would still be having this conversation about Salah being, because we've seen the analysis and we've seen people zeroing in on Salah now, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're looking at what he doesn't do rather than what
because he's not doing the other stuff.
And you think if he was doing that, people would be ignoring what he doesn't do. But Liverpool would still be conceding goals as a result of that.
But he's only doing exactly what he did last season.
The problem is it's not just Salah though, Danny.
No, that's
and my majority of friends will love this. We're not seeing Alexander Isak, the Alexander Isak we saw playing for Newcastle. Far from it.
Well, no, you're not. Because you won't for a little while either.
Why?
Well, as I explained before, if you miss a whole pre-season, you're playing catch-up. And the only way you get...
He's used to the Premier League.
What a lovely world
he hasn't just arrived on the scene. And we're almost through October.
Whether you agree with it or not isn't the point here. Because he come for a lot of money, he's earning a lot of money. It takes... The only way you get game fitness and sharpness is by playing the game. So when you're playing those games to get back up to level, you're not going to look like your normal self.
Gykeres didn't have a pre-season either.
Yeah, and he didn't score for 7 games, did he, till last night? He's not hit the heights he did in his last season.
He scored 2 in his first 3.
Well, 2 goals, yeah. I mean, it's hardly groundbreaking, is it?
The fact of the matter is they're backfired in a way that no one expected them to.
What's backfired?
Liverpool, they're nowhere near
What, the
£400 million spend?
The 4 points off the top
has not shown.
They're 4 points off the top of the league, and it's a catastrophe.
They were 5 points clear just weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, because they've lost 3 games on the spin. That's the way the Premier League goes.
It's not. But also, let's get into this. Is it not a bit small fry to be knocking at your opponent's tactics? Slot has faced quite a bit of criticism for alluding to United's low block and long ball approach when they played them. This was Martin O'Neill's reaction to what Slot said.
Just at this moment, and it's continued for 4 consecutive losses, too many players at this minute for Liverpool have not reached the heights of last season, McAllister being another one. But so it's a blip. That's all it is, really. They've lost the games. They could easily have maybe they could have scored a few goals yesterday in the game. What I'm a bit disappointed with is that, well, more than a bit, is that some of the comments that Slot, who has proved himself an excellent manager, coming out and saying that very difficult to play against a low block and teams that play long balls. Kind of reminds me at times of Arsene Wenger way back when I was against him. Every time that a team got a result against Arsenal, it was always because they played very defensively and they played the very, very, very long ball.
Is that a bit small fry?
Well,
Slot's part, I mean.
We talked about it earlier. In an ideal world, I don't think you'd want to mention what the other team do. Just talk about your own team. But I think the interview after the United game, Slot didn't come out and go, United were wrong, or it's not Manchester United way, the way they play. What he said, we couldn't win the ball back high up because they didn't pass out from the back. They played a lot of long balls, so and for us to make that many chances against a team who play a lot of long balls and had a low block, he'd have taken it before. He'd have said, if you'd have told me we'd have that many chances against a team with a low block and plays a lot of long balls, what's wrong with that? He's not actually saying, he didn't once say, that's not how you play football. Shouldn't be allowed. He even talked about it when they went up to Newcastle. When they went up to Newcastle were brilliant with 10 men and should have got some out of the game.
But if Slot and Liverpool had won the game, he wouldn't be mentioning it. We're in the excuses category here, aren't we? We're in that territory.
I understand why people say that, yeah.
Yeah.
If you keep mentioning
we don't have the chance to hear from Slot pre-match tonight.
Yeah, they had a plane
because
tonight,
they had to cancel the pre-match press conference. Liverpool gets stuck in the team gets stuck in Liverpool because of technical issues with their aircraft. So we will not know. Maybe it'll be put to him before they kick a ball tonight.
I think it's fair to say if you keep mentioning what the team's tactics are and it's gonna translate as excuses. Yeah, I hear you, but I think in isolation of that interview he did after the game, it didn't come across to me. He was simply talking about how the game went and why he was pleased with the amount of chances he made against a team that plays that way.
I mean, we're not in the excuses territory, are we? I mean, there's Abbey in Glasgow. Typical Danny, I'm afraid, making excuses for Liverpool. Facts are facts. They're well off the pace.
They are off the pace. I didn't say they weren't, but we're talking now in isolation about that interview, if people go back and listen to it, I don't think, you'd have to prove me wrong, I don't think you will. I don't think he was saying, that's wrong. That's not the way to play football. That's not Man United. He wasn't saying that.
Number one tonight. You don't think Salah played?
That was
your interpretation.
No, come on.
Ended up
that was the underlying influence.
You've been in here too long.
No.
You've been in here too long.
I listened to it and I thought to myself, because I like Slot, I think he's done a really good job. I thought what he said after the Palace game was absolute drivel about their participation in that game. But I've heard him twice say this now, and it was an inference of look what Man United have become.
You mean a little dig?
Yeah, look what Man United have become.
He did the same against Burnley.
Burnley, I just thought was they won the game, so he got away with it. But the Burnley observation was, if you've got this amazing football squad, break down the team that you're playing against. Correct. That's your job.
I agree with
Don't tell us how they're playing, because it's not their job to make it easy for you. It's the lot. If Burnley made it easier for Liverpool, they'd have got beat 6. Exactly. Wonderful. That would be great for Burnley.
But I agree with you.
So he shouldn't do it. He should accept. He accepted all the plaudits last year. People, really, really giving him the praise that he absolutely deserved. Yeah. Coming in and eclipsing Klopp and doing it instantaneously. He did it with Klopp's players though, and now he's got a group of players that he's had to shuffle his pack a little bit. And now we're going to see Slot having to do something different from what he did last year. And I don't want to denigrate his achievements, because winning the Premier League is a remarkable achievement. But he is now also having to rebuild certain aspects of this team for various reasons, some because players have left, some because of tragedies. and some because he's bought new players that he thinks is going to take it to the next level.
But I did say at the beginning of the conversation when asked, in an ideal world, any manager really shouldn't be going into press conferences. You should be consciously thinking, I'm not going to mention what the other team.
Do Liverpool win tonight?
I think they will.
Okay.
And I mean, they should, because Eintracht Frankfurt, they're not of the level of Liverpool.
It's live in talkSPORT, and we will cross to Germany next. Stay with us. Coming up to 11:20 this Wednesday morning. So on the subject of the Champions League, Liverpool are in Germany. They had to take their time getting there because of problems with their plane, but they're there nonetheless, and they take on Eintracht Frankfurt. I wonder what awaits them tonight in this Champions League. Delighted to say, good friend of ours, German football broadcaster Konstantin Eckner joins us live on the show. Konstantin, Frankfurt, what are they facing tonight, Liverpool?
So it's interesting about Frankfurt that in recent games they are either offensively impressive or they concede a number of goals. They actually managed to lead against Gladbach 6-0 and then conceded 4 goals in 20 minutes or so and almost bottled that game, which is kind of fascinating. They're also in the Champions League. I mean, they beat Galatasaray and on the first match day 5-1, and then they lost to Atletico 5-1. So it's a bit of a surprise what you get there. I guess if Liverpool can really show their strength offensively, they should beat Frankfurt.
Over here, Konstantin, there's been a fair amount of talk about Florian Wirtz and his struggles. What's been the view and the perception of him in Germany?
Yeah, kind of the same, because he also didn't really play a great game against Northern Ireland recently in the World Cup qualifiers, which was surprising, especially right now. Jamal Musiala is injured, so Florian Wirtz is the centerpiece of Germany's attacking midfield, but he didn't really play that well. They still beat Northern Ireland, but I mean, you of course take a pretty precise look at Wirtz and his performance, and he wasn't really that great. And overall, I mean, some people are concerned. Some people say that Liverpool should give him more time. But of course, I mean, if you have a price tag of over 100 million, it's kind of hard to argue for more time, because usually you should be working out quickly and immediately. But looking at the numbers, something I came up today. Last year and the year before, when he played for Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, he attempted on average per 90 minutes between 67 and 70 passes per game, basically per 90 minutes. Liverpool so far less than 50 passes per game. So he's not as involved in Liverpool's attacking plays as he was when he played for Bayer Leverkusen recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, he hasn't played that many 90 minutes for Liverpool, to be honest. So it's how you put the numbers together. But the reality is he hasn't done as well as we expected. But he's shown things in certain games where you just go, wow. And you can see the talent and the ability. I think it's a physical thing with him, getting used to our league more than anything else. And I agreed we could get him the ball more and should get him up the ball more, but the second half against United, when he come on against Chelsea, there's a couple of, even in Galatasaray, he shows these wonderful moments. He's just got this beautiful brain where he sees the pictures. So I've got no qualms about it.
Still faith.
Yeah, because it's only a physical thing till he gets up to. I don't see it being a technical and talent thing.
Konstantin, what we know is that Bayern Munich manager Vincent Kompany signed a 2-year extension to his contract. He's with them until June 2029. Has he successfully reshaped his managerial career and his image from, at one time here, relegation fodder to elite manager?
Basically, I mean, he was, as we discussed before on the show, he wasn't their first choice, but he took his chance and he made the best of it so far. And right now, Bayern Munich are looking almost unbeatable in the Bundesliga. And I would also argue, if everyone stays healthy, they are also someone who can get to the semi-final or maybe to the final in the Champions League. And of course, Kompany has great players, and they also signed Luis Diaz during the summer, who has played also beautifully for Bayern. But also Kompany plays his part in Bayern's success because he is a disciple of Pep Guardiola, and you see a lot of Pep Guardiola in Bayern's game right now.
Going off on a different tangent, obviously he's Austrian, but he's managed in Germany for a long time. What's the sort of reaction to the success that Oliver Glasner is having in the UK with Crystal Palace?
Some are also a bit surprised because Glasner wasn't the most charismatic Bundesliga manager, I would say that. But he had, of course, a great success with Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League and won the Europa League, and they beat Barcelona en route of that campaign. But overall, a bit of a surprise, but everyone knew that he was talented. But making the leap from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, there are often a lot of question marks behind it. And I mean, you saw other German-speaking or German managers in the past few years who didn't really work out eventually, who maybe had a great 6 months or so, a great start to the new job, but then fizzled out quite quickly. But not Oliver Glasner. And I mean, he was in the running for the Bayern Munich job before Crystal Palace owner said 80 million, you can have him, and then Bayern Munich pulled out. Because
Konstantin, before you leave us, we were somewhat surprised by Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Bayern Munich, the board member at Bayern Munich, of course, legendary player himself at one time, saying that Newcastle were, quotes, idiots for parting with 69 million quid for Nick Woltemade. Why did he take such a swipe at Newcastle with regard to Woltemade?
Can I make a bet that every time Woltemade scores a goal for Newcastle, that Rummenigge quote will come up again?
Right.
It's just what it is. I mean, they were a little bit sore and a little bit bitter about not getting Woltemade for 50 million or so, and they were outbid that heavily by Newcastle, and that's why they didn't take that well, to be honest, Bayern Munich, and that's why he called them idiots. I mean, it's of course over the top in a sense, but knowing Rummenigge and also Uli Hoeneß, the second famous Bayern Munich power broker, they often swing a sharp sword in the interviews.
Good to speak to you as always, Konstantin. We'll get back to you at some stage very soon. So Eintracht Frankfurt up against Liverpool tonight in the Champions League. It's live in talkSPORT. Danny, in a sentence though, if it was you and not Slot, but you are in charge, you wouldn't start Salah?
No, not tonight. I'd stick Chiesa in. He deserved a go. I'd put Ekatike in to play against his old team. I'd freshen it up in the top end of the pitch for sure.
Okay, 11:30 this Wednesday morning.
Victor by name and victor by nature. As Arsenal's perfect start to the Champions League continues, Mikel Arteta is praising the mighty Victor Gykeres.
It was about keeping that belief on himself, that emotional state that he can enjoy and play freely. I think he's certainly done that today again. He was rewarded with 2 goals. And as you said, biggest smile on his face.
Gykeres scored twice in their 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Eddie Howe wants Newcastle to bottle their European form to take back to the Premier League. Benfica were beaten 3-0. And Anthony Gordon becomes the first Magpies player to score in 3 consecutive Champions League games.
Anthony played very direct. I thought athletically he was excellent because he put a real big effort in both on and off the ball. So yeah, good night for him.
Elsewhere in Spain, Pep Guardiola was pleased to see a different name on Man City's score sheet. Bernardo Silva joined Erling Haaland in scoring in their 2-0 win over Villarreal. Meanwhile, following player protests in Spain, La Liga's controversial plan to stage Villarreal's game against Barcelona in the US has been cancelled. Here's Kevin Hatchard.
I do think there's still a lot of uneasiness about playing these league games outside of the countries they're in. And I'm delighted, to be honest. I think the longer we can resist this, the better it's going to be.
And legendary Lions coach Sir Ian McGee says his prostate cancer is all gone and under control. He's now urging the government to introduce a national screening programme. All your latest is at talkSPORT.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time. We're joined by Lord Charlie Robertson from BetMGM. We're going to look at the top games, top sporting events, and the odds around and about them. Charlie, good morning to you. Let's talk about last night's Champions League action. What are you thinking?
Morning, Jim. Morning, guys. Yeah, very good night for the English sides, wasn't it, Jim? Matt Gibson tipped up that 3-1 win of them all to win, so hopefully a few people got on that one. Just in hand, sort of in terms of how that looks in terms of the outright betting, Jim, PSG obviously were really impressive last night. They're the 9-2 favourites. Arsenal 5-1, Barcelona 6-1, Bayern and Liverpool 8-1, and City and Madrid 10-1. Danny, I watched the Arsenal game last night, and I think we've all been pretty impressed by them, and I think I'd probably lean towards them in terms of the outright betting. Who would you sort of look at the moment? You can make a case for pretty much everyone, can't you, at the moment?
Sorry, did you talk Champions League or Prem?
Yeah, Champions League. Danny,
I still think PSG are going to take some beating when they get everyone fit. They're a hell of a side. But yeah, I mean, Arsenal showed in the PSG game last year that they're capable of making chances against them. So a lot depends later in the season, but I'd go PSG still.
They are remarkable though, Danny, aren't they? I mean, the goals from everywhere in that Paris side.
Yeah, and they've just got so many players who are getting better, and so many young players who are just going to keep getting better.
Yeah,
you never know. Champions League, you need a bit of luck along the way.
Yeah, 7-2. They beat Leverkusen last night.
Although they had 2 sent off Leverkusen.
Yeah. 7-2. Jeez, oh. Okay. So do you want to move on tonight then, Charlie? Eintracht Frankfurt, Liverpool. It's live in talkSPORT. Where's your head with that?
Yeah, massive game, isn't it, Jim, for Liverpool? I think us Liverpool fans are a bit apprehensive after what's gone on recently. Normally go into this one pretty confident, but after what happened at the weekend and the last few weeks, I think we're all a little bit wary about how it's going to go. We still make Liverpool 11-20 to win the game. Frankfurt 4-1 and the draw 18-5. I think Konstantin just mentioned it, Jim, but Frankfurt have got a bit of a track record for entertaining games. The 9 matches they played in Bundesliga and Champions League this season, there's been nearly an average of nearly 5.5 goals per game. So you'd hope there's going to be a bit of goal-mouth action. For those wanting to sort of boost Liverpool's price, over 3.5 goals, which has happened in 8 of those 9 matches, is 41-50. So that could be worth looking at. Danny, just on the game tonight, as I mentioned, it's the way Frankfurt play. You think there's going to be plenty of space. So I'd like to think that Florian Wirtz will get back in a game, and then Ekitike as well. And I think Chiesa, probably deserves a start as well. I think he's been really good when he's come on. I know you mentioned you think Salah won't start, Danny, but how do you think it's going to look up the top of the pitch for Liverpool tonight? Do you think it will be Ekitike and Isak, or do you think it might just be one of the two?
No, I think it'll be Ekitike because he's fresh, and also obviously familiarity, and we're playing over there. Wirtz the same, probably comfortable surroundings for him, and actually his impact second half, Slot was lauding him, wasn't he, after the game? So I expect him to play. probably Gakpo stay on the left, and I think you're right, Chiesa does deserve, because Chiesa's been really unfortunate, and I think the majority of Liverpool fans who've been watching his impacts coming off the bench in games are on the same page that, give him a go. Let's see how he does. You can always bring Salah off the bench, can't you, if we feel that we need a goal. But I expect changes, definitely.
Yeah, I think as you say, Chiesa, I think all us Liverpool fans just feel like he's not really been given a chance to properly prove himself yet. So tonight seems a good spot.
I think they've got the former Robin Koch, I think, is their captain, former Leeds United lad. So we'll see where they go with that. And in the Champions League, Monaco, Tottenham, live in talkSPORT 2. And Chelsea, meantime, play Ajax.
Yeah, Chelsea 2-9 to beat Ajax, Jim. Really, really short price. Ajax are actually 10-1, which is a massive price away from home, and the draw is 23-4. And as you mentioned, Jim, yes, Spurs away at Monaco. Look to get back on track after that loss to Villa on Sunday. They are the favourites at 13-10, although they've only won one of the last 7 away in this competition, so that's one to consider. Monaco 19-10, the draw 13-5. And if you fancy all 3 English teams tonight, Jim, that's a 100-30 chance.
Well, yeah. Do you? Do you fancy an all-English trio of wins tonight? Tottenham to win at Monaco, Chelsea to beat Ajax, and Liverpool to win at Frankfurt. It's doable, Simon, isn't it?
I think Tottenham might find themselves in a difficult game there.
I agree.
I expect Chelsea to beat Ajax. I would expect Liverpool to beat Eintracht Frankfurt, but I think Tottenham will do well to come away with a point in that game.
Okay, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
It's a message that I have to read out. James, good morning to you. Listening to Danny, who I enjoy on talkSPORT. He's so defensive of Liverpool, though. He's beginning to get a bit like Keown with Arsenal. Oh, boy.
Defensive of what?
Defensive of Liverpool.
Yeah, what bit? Where was I defensive? You mean when I tried to protect Slot a little bit?
Are you getting defensive now?
Well, someone who's defensive of their team wouldn't be open-minded enough.
But you're trying to hide in plain sight.
To admit that after 8 games, Arsenal are now the favourite.
He's got a point. You're trying to hide in plain sight. You're trying to throw scraps and red meat to the masses by saying, well, I can see this argument, but really it's all tilted towards your bias towards Liverpool.
No, an uneducated listener will do what they do best, which is hear one part of what you say and then use that as you being a fervent Liverpool fan who can't see.
Pedant. Pretty much verbatim. Rabbit saying, ha 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 ha. Be quiet, Danny. You've got 1 or 2 flops there now in that team, and you thought they'd be world beaters.
Isn't it funny though, really, when you break it down how you can analyse a player, whether he's played 5 games, 6 games out of the 8, whatever, and call them a flop for any team. I mean,
yes,
it's bizarre when you think about it.
Yeah, but you did say before the season started, if they get Wirtz, the title's done.
I did.
It's Liverpool's.
It still might be.
Just saying.
You don't.
I tell you what, it still might be, but it's a long shot.
Just saying. Danny, this is right up your street. According to reports, the lawmakers, IFAB, are set to discuss extending the remit of VAR. IFAB will look at adding second yellow cards to the list of areas VAR can intervene within.
Good.
For example, examining the prospect of a missed second yellow.
Good.
You're for this.
That's done you up, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, because obviously second yellows leads to reds, which impact the game hugely. It's important. And second yellows, whether it's missed or whether it's given wrongly, they're big factors in the games, and it should be looked at.
So you won't be moaning if they check more time checking every.
No, I've my consistent argument's always been the same, which we know and won't need to go over. But
not really.
It doesn't really matter now.
Rehash it for us
because it's here.
Yeah,
VAR is here. The one thing I think they are doing better, and I think is the way forward consistently, is to keep that bar really high with VAR interfering with any decision.
What did you make of the referee's performance in the Bournemouth Palace game? Given the fact on one of those rare little excursions over to the monitor, they didn't follow the VAR directive. They took their own initiative.
Great. I was actually listening to the panel on, I think it was Sky, we were doing that game, and there was like a celebration of all of them going, yes, he's made his own decision.
Yeah.
He's stuck with his own decision. More of it.
Yeah,
more of it.
There was kind of relief all round.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah. It was good to see, and that was good to hear from Danny, who gives it the thumbs up.
Absolutely.
To IFAB extending the remit of VAR. Something I never thought I'd be saying. It's coming up to 11:45 this Wednesday lunchtime, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. It is Wednesday morning, what's left of it. Coming up to 10 to 12 as Danny fires some elastic bands around the studio. We're having fun this morning.
Going to do it at you, and I thought, better not.
Holding his trousers up.
Don't you dare. It's Jim
I took it off your wallet, Jim.
Thank you. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan. We're fitting up. And Danny
pays for your
and the quite impertinent Danny Murphy, and we're live in talkSPORT. Let's get an update in the cricket. England against Australia. It's a Women's Cricket World Cup. Of course it is. And of course it's John Norman.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Australia hitting back. England got off to a terrific start. 55 without loss inside 9 overs. But Australia, the dominant force in limited overs cricket in the women's game, have shown exactly why. They are so good. They've really dragged themselves back into the match. Jones was bowled for 18 when you last crossed him in the last few minutes. Big moment. Heather Knight has been given her LBW. Not on field. They reviewed the not out call, but when he went upstairs, 3 reds and you're out. It means much riding on Tammy Beaumont, who's 47 not out, and the skipper Nat Sciver-Brunt yet to get off the mark. England 90 for 2, the start of the 19th.
John, thanks very much indeed. Keen to ask Mr. Jordan this, former owner of a top English football club, owning your mistakes. If you, in the rare occasion you made a mistake, did you end up owning it, Simon? Did you think, nah, that's down to me, and that's on me?
But if you've made a mistake, the best thing to do to take it away from those that are going to persecute you is own it.
Yeah.
Because if you try to deny it or try to find an excuse for it, then all that's going to do is make you more susceptible to people going after you. So the best thing to do is take the steam out of the room by saying, that's me, that's my mistake, I did that.
Yeah, strong leadership.
I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's self-preservation as well, because if you know what's coming down, you analyse things. You analyse something by the chain as strong as its weakest link. The weakest link in this conversation is I made the mistake. I'm going to get blamed for it. By me trying to dilute that or make it dissipate, all I'm going to get is more. So why don't I just take it away from those that are going to use it against me by owning it? Because the best way to negate an argument is to agree with it, right?
Right.
There's no argument then.
The reason I'm saying this, on 2 occasions this week, we've kind of seen this from people at the top. Marinakis pivoted from Ange after 39 days. In he comes with a more maybe pragmatic Sean Dyche. Up at Rangers in Glasgow, they've taken a circuitous route, if you like, in appointing Danny Rowe, the German. And in a press conference yesterday, the 49ers, Andrew Kavanagh, addressed the spell of Russell Martin amidst fan unrest.
When we became a part of this club this summer, we talked about 2 things: sustained winning and winning sustainably. And 4 months later, it has obviously not gone as we envisioned. We did not expect it to be easy, but we also didn't expect to be where we are today. Part of that was the decision we made over the summer to appoint Russell as the head coach. It did not go as planned. Russell is a good guy. He worked tirelessly. He wanted desperately to win, and I wish him well. But it didn't work. If something doesn't work, I think there are 3 things that you need to do. You need to acknowledge it. You need to own it, which I believe that we have done. You need to rectify it. And today is a big part of that. And with that, we are happy to have Danny here as our head coach. We know that they have been disappointed. We recognize that. Everybody at the club is going to work tirelessly to get us back to what everyone so desperately wants, which is winning football matches.
Is that fair enough from Kavanagh? I mean, it's hard to argue against what he's just said, isn't it?
Yes, I think they've done a wonderful job of owning their mistake in the way they've conducted their interviewing process over the last 4 weeks. I think that was a real indication that they've learnt their lessons about how they should and shouldn't do things. Listen, that is part and parcel of the responsibility of trying to keep people on point and trying to play to the gallery of collected journalists or supporters that are going to just be pointing their finger and go, what the hell was that about? It's entirely right that they didn't take the cheap shot of piling in on Russell Martin and supporting their appointment in terms of, we think he was a good guy, he did his very best, but it didn't work out. The reasons why it didn't work out is probably because it was flawed in the first instance. Because if it didn't work out after 8 games and you couldn't see what you wanted to see from him after 8 games, then what did you see from him from the outset? And you need to look around and perhaps be pointing your finger at other people in the room as to the reasons why this didn't work out and why you delegated and why you and yourselves enabled the entire world and its mother to know exactly what you were doing, when you were doing it and how you were doing it, and taking meetings where you couldn't sell things. Now, that's the criticism side of things. The positive side of things is leaders have to lead and they have to take the plaudits and most of the time the criticism. Because most of the time, an owner, if a team has done well, it's nothing to do with him. If a team is doing badly, it's all to do with him. Right. And that's accepted in the conventional wisdom of being an owner. And that's the tragedy of ownership in this country. When you're in America owning football, sports teams, sports franchises, the owner is the person that gets all the plaudits. They did what they should do, which is address the elephant in the room, which is Rangers is a big football club. Why they didn't understand this from the outset, and why we were talking to David Edgar yesterday from the particular podcast, who's a very good fan observer, and we had him on before, debating your particular dislike for fan media. And And he talked about the failings on their part, which evade me because they own a big club.
Yeah.
And they should know, and they should have felt it in the air. When you walk into Ibrox, and on the time that I was there, you feel the size of this club. Irrespective of what I think of the league and the quality of Scottish football is irrelevant. You know what the scale of this football club is, so you own the decisions. And the first impression, tragically, is the one that stays with people.
Well, that's right. In fact, the whole process, or the appointment process, which has led to Danny Röhl, the German, taking the job, has ended up being a bit of a head scratcher, because it looked like Steven Gerrard, and they spoke to him, and then he fell out of it. It looked like Kevin Muscat. They spoke to him. It looked like he was going to get it, and then he fell away. And Danny Röhl had been spoken with, and then came back into the picture and ended up taking the job. But that didn't bother Röhl.
All in all, since a couple of days, we had outstanding meetings together. There was still and immediately a great relationship between all of us in the meetings. I felt the trust. You can be the first, the second, or the third choice. Important is that you win the next games, and then you have to go forward. Yeah, I think this is the reason why I'm here. For me, it's not a situation, because I'm sure, and I'm honest to you, I cannot tell you which choice I cannot just tell you that I'm here, and it gives me the belief that I was the first choice.
Danny, we can only ask people who have worked with Danny Röhl about their experiences with him. That's why we spoke to Josh Rindass yesterday, who gave us a good account of his experience under Röhl at Sheffield Wednesday. And he said, be aware, this guy's more than capable.
Well, it was a pretty amazing job that he did at Sheffield Wednesday. And he's had good experience working with people like Hansi Flick and our mate Hassan Hool at Southampton, the emotional ex-Southampton manager.
Yeah.
And it's a decent CV he's got. He's talented young coach. It's a massive job for anyone, even if you've got experience. He's got to make some improvements really quickly, and the argument is that whoever's in there's got their hands tied to a degree with the lack of quality in the squad. That's evident. But yeah, he's got a great opportunity, because if he can turn it round, he's going to be lauded, isn't he? He's going to be a hero if he can get anywhere near Celtic and get them winning games and competitive again. But it's going to be a slow burner. I can't see it happening overnight.
Also, of course, while that was going on north of the border at Nottingham Forest, in comes Sean Dyche. And of course, this is a team that has had no clean sheet in 20 games. So how's Sean? You're going to fix that?
Them sort of stats creep up on you. You know, at first you go, no, you know, a few games without a clean sheet, but still nicking wins and points. Let's go back to them 20 games. And then all of a sudden you go, hang on a minute, you know, the solidarity amongst the group and how the base that I call it to work from was so effective. And then it just maybe softens a little bit. Not necessarily as a group, as maybe the odd mistake here, and you get the odd unlucky one. So, yeah, that's certainly something we have to correct, of course. And I know the players are aware of that. Lots of talk about set pieces and the like. So the basics have always got to be in place. You know, strong, fit and organised is a good start point. But of course I want the players to have the freedom to go and play. I've already had a meeting with them today, expressed that. I think there's some talent here for sure. So how can we find that balance? You know, the risk and rewards of going forwards to score goals and hopefully excite the crowd. But equally the base that has been such a good weapon for Forest, and certainly in a big season last season. So trying to find that balance, and that'll be the key, I think.
You see, in a matter of weeks, Danny, Marinakis has gone from, welcome Ange, here's someone who wins a trophy, and I want to win trophies. And that's why Ange is here. And now Ange has gone. Now it's gone to Dyche. And the tone is different. The Forest statement, having managed more than 330 Premier League games in his career, Dyche has built teams defined by defensive organisation, resilience and strength from set pieces. It's a different tone now.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's only 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League who can have really front foot tactics and please the crowd week in, week out, because they've got the best players. All the other teams have to do what Forest were last year, have to do what Palace are. The fact that he appointed Ange at Forest to try and turn that success they had around and become more front foot, more creative and more easy on the eye was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was only going to end one way. You can't be that team unless you've got the best players, because you'll get done. So I think Dyche is the way forward. I think, although he's similar to Nuno, that's exactly what Forest need. All the investment he can put in doesn't matter all the added bit of quality each season, ain't ever going to overtake. They're not going to overtake those big boys. They're not. So being organised, being really good defensively, and having some really good players out up the pitch for counters and for the games when you're playing equal level teams, your teams in similar space.
What a horrible, arrogant little attitude that is. Know your place.
Well, it is true.
Stay where you are. Stay in your lane. That's your place. Us at Liverpool and clubs like that, we are where we are. And you don't get above yourselves. Nottingham Forest, don't you dare try to play football in an ambitious way like Newcastle might want to do, and other teams that are like Aston Villa, because you're not going to get there. That's the utopian future that Danny has.
Correct.
Happy days with Danny.
You've got to make the most of what you've got.
Right.
And in the majority of games in the Premier League, against high-quality opposition, Forest, if they go toe-for-toe, would lose. If you watch them last season, brilliantly organised, defensively sound, pace on the counter, a centre-forward who knows his role, who could finish, all of a sudden, success, just climbing, decent, really good season. But to then change it and try and go a completely different way, because Ange had a success in the Europa League at Tottenham, it was a bizarre appointment.
What's he got with Dyche? I mean, has he got more here than he had at Burnley and Everton?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's got.
He can't be more expensive.
You can, in certain games, of course, because there'll be teams where you look at and think, actually, we're better than these. We've got better players. We can go after them a bit. But your general philosophy is still that really difficult to beat, really good foundation. I've been part of teams like that. You've just got to accept where you are. You can't evolve into something beautiful and wonderful to watch and having the ball all game unless you've got the best players.
Okay. Well, 2 managerial debuts tomorrow night, funnily enough, in the same competition. That was beautifully put, Danny. In the European League, Nottingham Forest under Sean Dyche up against Porto. Rangers under Danny Roll up against Brann. They're away in Norway to Brann. We are away for a few moments because we've come up to 12 noon this Wednesday lunchtime.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 12:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. A wonderful attitude to work hard for the team. talkSPORT's Danny Murphy echoes Mikel Arteta's comments that Victor Gykeres makes Arsenal better.
Don't think his ego. He's not going to be overly concerned that he doesn't score every game as long as the team's winning. But when you make a signing, what you're trying to do is improve the 11 at a top club, and he's done that.
Gykeres ended a 9-game dry spell in the win over Atletico Madrid. Now, Manchester City are helping return the body of a supporter who died in Spain ahead of the club's game at Villarreal. 35-year-old Guy Bradshaw was found in an apartment in Benidorm. It's reported there were no suspicious circumstances. City send their condolences to his family. We're hearing Aston Villa have opened contract negotiations with Morgan Rogers over a fresh deal. Meanwhile, does Harry Maguire deserve a new contract at Old Trafford? Gabby Agbonlor says 100% yes.
Manchester United, it's a no-brainer. Delap, Yoro, defenders have got available. Harry Maguire is their best defender, and he deserves a new deal for sure.
On the subject of new deals, Chris Woakes has signed a new all-format 2-year contract with Warwickshire. Woakes retired from internationals last month. And out in India, England's women are looking to post a strong total for Australia to chase. Let's check in with John Norman.
Well, they've just lost their skipper, Nat Sciver-Brunt, caught at mid-off. The pressure that had been applied on England by Australia has just started to make a difference. And Sciver-Brunt trying to hit her way out of trouble, trying to loft the ball from King. The bat turned in her hands. Simple catch for Sutherland, who picked up the first wicket of Amy Jones, along with Heather Knight, LBW, for 20. It means a lot of hope for England resting on the shoulders of Tammy Beaumont. She's 55 not out. England 106 for 3 after 23.
Thanks, John. There's loads more on the Women's World Cup on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
A grooming gang victim who quit the National Inquiries urged Jess Phillips to resign as safeguarding minister, and another interest rate cut looks likely after inflation held at 3.8% last month. More from the news team at 12:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy" this winter. Book today at quickfit.com.
Dry day for most of us, sunny spells and a few showers. Milder in the south, breezy on northern coasts, and turning increasingly wet and windy in the southwest come late afternoon.
Good afternoon. It is now officially Wednesday afternoon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. So many of you getting in touch. Many of you tell me in the street when you meet me that you watch the show as well as listen to it these days, and I'm delighted you do that. And you can do that in a variety of different ways, because we're live on your TV, on Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, and even Prime Video. So these days, it's a telly show as well as a radio show. Now, primarily, of course, we are live on talkSPORT. Primarily, we talk football, but on numerous occasions in the course of the 4 days that Simon and I are on, between 10 and 1, we bring in the sport of boxing, which proves to be hugely popular. And today is no exception. We'll talk more boxing tomorrow in the final hour between 12 and 1. But in the meantime, with news like this, we had to go for it today. The heavyweight Lawrence Okolie is to headline a boxing card in Lagos, Nigeria, in mid-December. It's around the 19th of December. And this is the start of a whole bunch of big fights going to be staged in that part of the world. West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, that little part, not so little incidentally, where boxing is huge and has been for a number of years. I'm delighted to say that Lawrence Okolie joins us live on the show. Lawrence, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Congratulations as well on being not just a radio station, but also like a TV station. I love it for you guys.
Oh, Lawrence, thank you very much indeed. Well, guys like yourself play a big part.
Don't be such a sycophant, Lawrence.
And I'm taking that in the spirit in which it was meant, Lawrence. Do not listen to Lord Jordan. How does it feel to be heading out to Nigeria and for the first time in your professional career, you're going to be fighting on a bill out. After all of that, all the mutual compliments flying around, you got us, Lawrence.
Oh, yeah. No. It feels fantastic. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. My heritage is Nigerian. My family is over the moon for us to be boxing back there. So yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to it.
I mean, it's as I mentioned earlier, I was in Ghana years ago and it was all about Azuma Nelson and homage to Azuma Nelson. Neighbouring Nigeria is equally boxing mad. I mean, I think you're going out there to huge numbers of people who want to watch guys like yourself right there, right in front of them. I mean, it's a no-brainer for you, Lawrence.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I was blessed enough to be there in last month and see what the show looked like, feel the energy of the crowd, and I got a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. So you know, we got our head down, got it over the line, and said, you know, we got to go and show out. A lot of the top heavyweights from England, if you think about it now, myself, Anthony Joshua, Fabio Wardley, Moses Satama, Adelaide, Joe Joyce, a lot of other all have like heritage back in Nigeria. Like all the names I've just mentioned, there's probably more. And it's like the ability to take the blessings that we've got from England and showcase them back in Nigeria. Like, yes, it's nothing but like it's going to be a great occasion.
You know, Simon, when Lawrence gives you a list like that.
Yeah, obviously I understand the heritage side of things. I'm just curious to see how it helps you in terms of the awareness side of things, because ultimately, whilst we all understand the scale of the opportunity in Africa, and we've heard Turkey Al-Sheikh talk about that particular continent being opened up, it does seem to fall a little bit below the radar in terms of what happens over there when fights are over there. And whilst we feature it and we focus it in our shows, and Spencer goes over there and talks about it, does it commercially do things for you, Lawrence, in terms of elevating your profile? We all know that you won the cruiserweight title. We all know that you won the bridgerweight title. Heavyweights now is where the real opportunity exists for you and where the real big scale becomes part and parcel of where you go. Does it do that for you as well, Lawrence?
I think so. I think, and for me, it's bigger than just myself. It's all of us coming back. We've got David Adelaide coming. I'm hearing rumours of Anthony Joshua coming. And I don't think it's today it maximizes. It's the thing that Nigeria, for example, has the biggest population of young people in the whole of Africa. And it's a market that will grow. Is it going to be in my career? I want to be part of it, but it could be 5 years, 10 years to the point where it's a massive market. But it takes people like myself, people like Adelaide, people like AJ in the future, people like Moses Atama coming back and showcasing to really drum up the interest and then grow it. So for me, it's more like a passion thing at the moment than like, this is where all of the millions are going to be made for my career. But ultimately, it's there to be done.
And Frank's very much behind that sort of thinking?
Yeah, 100%. You know, that's why we're all there. I have a contract with Queensbury. They're my promoters, so they have to back it. Otherwise, this show isn't possible.
Well, yeah, no, obviously I know that. I was just thinking if Frank was instrumental in that situation manifesting itself. I mean, obviously, I thought you fought very well against Kevin Lerena, and you had a slight injury in that fight, which inhibited you being able to throw punches the way you wanted to. I mean, how, when you look at the fights that you've had, and I think the Lerena fight, people wanted to criticise it, but I think Lerena is a very difficult opponent. I think you made light work of him. How are you assessing the change now from two weights that you've been involved in? You know, I don't think much of bridgerweight, but you still won a world title there, so we'll get past that. How are you assessing your sort of transition into heavyweights?
Yeah, I think that my sort of accolades as a heavyweight are going to come from beating the top heavyweights. You know, Kevin Lerena is a solid, good fighter, but I think beating someone like Caballero and those type of guys are the ones where it becomes really undeniable. So, you know, that's mainly the one that I've been hunting down. But I think if I was able to outbox, even if it was 12 rounds or not a KO, although KOs are my favourite, the likes of Parker, the likes of Wardley, the likes of Ajit Caballero, I think it becomes undeniable. And then,
absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about Caballero, he's one of the form fighters in the division, isn't he? He's humbled Zhilei Zhang. He dealt with Frank Sanchez. You know, he's the one that stopped Makhmudov in his tracks before everyone started to realise that Makhmudov was beatable. I mean, have you got an opponent in mind for the December outing?
For Nigeria, no. I'll be lying if I said it's going to be a Caballero. Do you know what I mean? The economics maybe aren't quite there yet. However, that's the one that I'm desperate for thereafter. But, Nigeria now, it's about making a statement. It's about engaging that crowd, engaging those people and going from there.
You mentioned Wardley and Wardley Parker go head-to-head this Saturday night. What do we expect? What do you expect out of that one, Lawrence?
I expect it to be a good fight. I think that Parker must go in the favourite, where Wardley has struggled with boxers. He struggled with Clark the first time. Obviously, we saw what happened the second time. He seems to,
Justice Hooney
was obviously the most clear one. Usually, knockouts cause amnesia. When you get the KO, everyone forgets about what happened. But where that one was so dramatic and it was so one-sided, it's a little bit more clear. He struggles with boxers. However, with his knockout percentage, his speed and explosiveness, he's always got the chance to land the shot. So I would favour Parker, but I could see Wardley causing a, if you can call it an upset.
Can I ask you an off-piece question about Jai Opataya? I mean, you are obviously in the same weight division as him. He's staying in the cruiserweights now, trying to unify, having a bugger's muddle trying to get Zudo Ramirez to fight him so he can do that. Do you think, given the fact this is now your home, that Jai Opataya is going to land here pretty soon? And do you think he's going to cut a swathe through the heavyweight division?
I hate saying so. I don't think so, but I don't want to be that guy to say he can't do it or whatever else. I think he's a fantastic fighter. I saw him in person against Jack Massey, who I now train with, and he's very good. I just, for example, Usyk and myself come from cruiserweight up, but I'm a lot bigger than even Usyk, and Uzyk's a lot bigger than Jai. So it's not all about size, but I do think he'll struggle with just the size and presence of heavyweights. But he's very good, very, very sharp. But a lot of his attributes get sort of taken away by bigger guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lawrence, you mentioned Usyk to Simon there in your last answer. Usyk and his people confirmed to us yesterday, Igis Klimas, his manager, certainly confirmed it, that he fights on for another 2 years. So his continued tie-up of the division that you want to break, that shows no sign of ending, doesn't it? Or does it?
If it's not him, it'll be Father Time, and someone's right hand will eventually get it done, in my opinion. I think, he's fantastic. And, I love winners. I know we're in the same weight class, but I love guys who win and they go out and they get it. And, Olympic, undisputed, 2-time undisputed at heavyweight. However, I don't want to see him lose just based on age. So I would prefer if he, relinquish the titles and let everyone else have a go. But if he wants to carry on, then, eventually I think someone's going to catch up with him.
Lawrence, good to speak to you. We'll speak again probably before you head to Nigeria. December the 19th, he's going to be fighting out there, Lawrence Sokoli. Thank you, Lawrence. I think the focus of attention, Simon, is in a vibrant part of the world there, West Africa, with boxing.
Yeah, I mean, Frank doesn't miss many tricks, does he? This is a joint promotion, I understand, between Queensberry and DAZN, so it's going to be broadcast in the UK. There's an opportunity there. They've been talking about this continent for a long time. Turkey Al-Sheikh has talked about it. The more noise they make about it, I'm not entirely sure that the events are as slick and as put together as they could be, but that's fine, because you learn and you earn at the same time. So, listen, I like Lawrence. I want Lawrence to be successful. Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's a nice kid. And I want him, he gets a lot of criticism because some of the fights he's been in have been difficult to watch. But I thought he did very well against Kevin Lorraine. I'd like to see him do well. And he's in the right stable, because Queensberry have got the lot, haven't they? They've got all the heavyweights. They've got the division tied up, with the exception of Usyk.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding that, they've got all the major cards without Usyk. But notwithstanding that, what Frank does is he guides heavyweights well.
Yeah. I just wonder if we're seeing elements of football snobbery coming to the fore. We'll get into that next. Stay with us. It is Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. We're going to head out to the cricket, find out what's going on in the Women's Cricket World Cup. Let's get an update on England, Australia, and it's John Norman.
Well, not a lot is the quick answer there, Jim. 116 for 3 England. We're at the start of the 29th over, and with spin at both ends, they're applying the squeeze on the Australians. Haven't seen a boundary in 6 overs now, with Dunkley and Beaumont at the crease. Beaumont got off to such a quick start as well. She's 59, was going at a runner ball when she was hovering around the 30s, not so now. She's eaten up 80 deliveries, and Sophia Dunkley is 7 from 23. Brilliant bowling figures for the leg spinner Alana King. 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 9, and it's looking very, very tricky now for England. 116 for 3, midway point of the 29th over.
John, thank you very much indeed. I wonder if tippy-tappy football is a thing of the past. It certainly looks that way at the moment. Are we seeing elements of football snobbery coming to the fore, though, here? I'll explain. The Premier League has become more Route 1 this season. Of that, there is no doubt, and the stats back that up. The number of passes per game are at a 15-year low, and the percentage of long throw-ins into the penalty box is more than double the number at any point in the past decade. Statistics reveal there have been an average of 3.85 long throws into the opponent's box per game this campaign, and that's more than double last season's average. A lot of people think, yeah, good, back to the old school way of doing it, and I like that. Throw it into the box and deal with that. But Monday Night Football on Sky, Jamie Carragher pushed back on that.
If I'm Gary and you're going back into football and the data's telling you you've got more chance of scoring a goal and winning games doing it, you're going to do it, and I would do it as a manager, as a coach. As a lover of the game and someone who's a neutral more often than not when games are getting played, and I love football, love watching it, it bores me. I'm a bit like his football lad. I feel like we're getting to the stage, not just with throw-ins, even with kick-offs. It feels like we're getting almost to rugby and we're playing for territory. The game was on a journey with Pep Guardiola, and I think it got so far. And also with the teams coming up, trying to play football, losing on the edge of the own box. I think a lot of people in football think we've almost had enough of this, everyone trying to play pretty football. I was frustrated with every team almost trying to play the same type of football. And I think we've gone back, which is fine, but I almost feel like we've gone too far back.
I mean, do you have a problem with it, Danny?
No, everything's about balance. And Jamie's right. You know, most people have been bemoaning for seasons now, everyone trying to play like Pep, and the teams coming up getting battered every week. We've now got 3 teams who come up who are out the relegation zone, mainly because of the pragmatism that their managers are giving them. If you've got somebody who throws the ball in a box really well and loads of giants in your team, use it, no problem. Now, the best teams generally don't need to do it because they'll cut you open with creativity and better players and inventive players. But it's balance. You know, the best example I think you could ever see was Ederson, who was the best footballing goalkeeper that's ever lived, playing for Man City. And the amount of times, because Man City were, of course, Pep's team, pass. The amount of times when they were pressed really well, he'd get out of his feet and hit a 70-yarder in behind for a Haaland run, especially in a treble-winning year. I mean, he's got more assists than some forward players, Ederson. I know he's left now.
Yeah.
You've got to have a balance. You can't be a one-trick pony unless you've got the best players.
There's a bit snobbery goes with this, though, Danny, isn't there? I remember years back, Rory Delap. Remember Simon and
Stoke,
and Stoke.
I played against that.
Right. Under Tony Pulis.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You say brilliant. It worked for them. It worked for Stoke. Now everybody's having a go.
Well,
at
look,
it.
if you look at Tottenham.
So what's wrong with it?
Nothing.
Yeah, but the purists give it, and you heard from Carragher there.
Too far.
It's going too far.
I think
it bores me.
Yeah, it doesn't bore me. I enjoy it because I like trying to see how people cope with it. Tottenham are a good example who still try and play. You know, when you watch Tottenham play, they still try and play through the lines, and they've got some good players. But their set plays have improved 100%, haven't they, under Thomas Frank? And they've got Danzo, when he plays, he can throw it like Delap, and he puts it in there, and they get the big lumps up, and they cause problems. Nearly scored twice from it at the weekend. So why wouldn't you use it? It's football is great because of the variables and the different tactics different managers employ. As we talked about earlier, I don't like any manager really, or it's not ideal for any manager to be talking about other teams' tactics because you're allowed to do it. It's the game. Cope with it. You know, I think Newcastle under Eddie Howe have been a brilliant example of a team who's able to mix their game up now and again to really cause teams problems. But why not? It doesn't bore me at all. I enjoy it.
So here's a question. Do you think you can win the league by going long ball, more direct?
You can't. No,
Why?
Can't.
Why?
Well, because you don't have the ball enough. I mean, the only team in the last 20 years who've won the league without having more, high stats possession was Leicester.
Leicester, yeah.
Bit of a one-off. Everyone else across Europe and in our, whether it be international football, whether it be club football, the teams who dominate are the ones who keep the ball best and wear you down because they've got the better technical players, and then they just find gaps and find holes and cut you open. If you keep going long and keep giving the ball back to the opposition, you're not going to win leagues.
So is Arne Slot right? If you want to win the league, you can't, in my opinion, with that playing style. I don't see this style in any team in Europe that wins a league.
He's right, but there's a difference in. So Arsenal play good football. They play out and they play through the lines. Got really good players, and they can hurt you. But a big thing of theirs is their physicality on set plays, brilliant delivery, and people who really want to win headers and get above people. So they've got a really nice balance, And you look at all the best teams, there'll be a physical element to them. Even City, the physical element they've got with Haaland. He's the size of him and the ability to win headers. And I just think the other way, it was becoming, you can't win, can you, in football?
Yeah.
You've got, because there's so much of it now and so much opinion. If it's all tippy-tappy, then it's not good enough. People don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's not successful for the teams who haven't got the better
It was
play.
more Route 1 when you played, wasn't it?
Yeah, more mixed.
Yeah.
More mixed. And I think for some people, they won't like it, but I think majority of football fans quite like to see the variation. And so many football fans over the last few years we've had who come on the show and talk, they're sick to death of seeing this tippy-tappy foot. What's better than going to watch two teams with a contrast of styles have it out? Same in boxing, isn't it? You get the boxing's clash of styles. You'll get slick guys and you'll get ones who just have a tear up. I love to see it all. It doesn't bore me at all because as soon I was watching Villa try and deal with Danzo's long throw-ins.
Yeah.
And, they were having to work hard and concentrate and communicate and win headers and get knockdowns, and that's part of football.
Having said that, one of the lads in the office was at the Tottenham game at the weekend, and the Tottenham fans were going crazy because Danzo was taking his time, preparing for the long throw, waiting for the towel to be brought to him so he could wipe down the ball. And, of course, time's against them, slowing it down, get on with it.
But they're not going crazy when they're celebrating a goal from the set plays that Thomas Frank's introduced.
True. But on that occasion, it didn't work
because what happened near the end of the game, the minutes were ticking down. They were 2-1 down.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of occasions where he was over-toweling the ball. It's like, just throw it in, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But you can't, if you've got, say, 60,000 fans in a stadium, doesn't matter how you play.
Right.
There'll be a percentage of them who want you to play another way. We've hit the ball too long today.
Right.
Pass it.
When you scored the second goal at the new Wembley, did you over-towel the ball?
Why would I have towelled the ball? I didn't pick it up and then boot it in the net.
Was it Route 1 that day?
It was Graham Lasso hit the crossbar and I volleyed it in on the rebound. What has this got to do? Why are you trying to parody me? I think Jamie Carragher's point has no real relevance in this instance because variety is irrelevant to him because he's entitled to his view. I think this is where content becomes stretched. because you cannot suggest that having a variety and having a whole different array of ways of playing the game is something that you'd be bored of. If it was the staple diet of everybody,
yes,
then he could say that.
All he's saying, to be fair to Jamie, is that it's gone too far. He thinks it's gone too far. I don't.
No, neither do I.
Because I think what we're seeing is new ways to get results and teams having to adapt.
Yeah.
And the proof in the pudding, which he brought up himself, you know, the three relegated teams who keep going back down. We've now got three teams who teams who got promoted getting relegated from the Championship. We've now got three teams who've come up from the Championship.
Yeah.
They're all being pragmatic to a degree, and none of them are in a relegation zone.
Which is not boring.
I mean, look back at it, nobody could really cope with Rory Delap and Stoke.
Impossible, mate.
When he used to do that.
I'm telling you this now.
Why was it? Because he used to boom them right under the
trajectory of it, but not just that. They had players in there who wanted to edit and fight you. And I'm telling you now, when the week leading up to playing Stoke away, everyone was like, oh, no.
Really?
Yeah. And you want to criticise them, but you can't because it's so effective.
And little guys like you struggle with their long ball throwing.
Yeah. Well, I don't get involved.
You just stay out.
I'm the edge of the box for the pickup.
You just vape upfield. It's 12:30.
Victor by name and Victor by nature. As Arsenal's perfect start to the Champions League continues, Mikel Arteta is praising the mighty Victor Gykeres.
It was about Keeping that belief on himself, that emotional state that he can enjoy and play freely. I think he's certainly done that today again. He was rewarded with 2 goals. And as you said, biggest smile on his face.
Gykeres scored twice in their 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Eddie Howe wants Newcastle to bottle their European form to take back to the Premier League. Benfica were beaten 3-0. And Anthony Gordon becomes the first Magpies player to score in 3 consecutive Champions League games.
Anthony played very direct. I thought athletically he was excellent because he put a real big effort in both on and off the ball. So yeah, good night for him.
Elsewhere in Spain, Pep Guardiola was pleased to see a different name on Man City's score sheet. Bernardo Silva joined Erling Haaland in scoring in their 2-0 win over Villarreal. Meanwhile, following player protests in Spain, La Liga's controversial plan to stage Villarreal's game against Barcelona in the US has been cancelled. Here's Kevin Hatchard.
I do think there's still a lot of uneasiness about playing these league games outside of the countries they're in. And I'm delighted, to be honest. I think the longer we can resist this, the better it's going to be.
And legendary Lions coach Sir Ian McGee says his prostate cancer is all gone and under control. He's now urging the government to introduce a national screening programme. All your latest is at talkSPORT.com.
Now, this is your chance to win talkSPORT's biggest ever cash prize, £100,000 completely tax-free. You also get to visit talkSPORT Towers on Thursday, the 13th of November, and then you will play for that incredible cash prize. Here's how you can enter.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a TalkSPORT limited promotion run on TalkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
These days, when Jurgen Klopp speaks, we kind of tune in because we don't hear him as much as we used to do now that he has gone and Arne Slot is in charge of Liverpool. Jurgen has been speaking on the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett on a variety of things. Actually, let's get to this first, because I remember when Klopp said, well, we just don't have the finances to compete with the big spenders like Manchester City. That has changed, and he was asked, what did he make of Liverpool's massive summer spend?
I had no clue that this is possible. Nobody ever told me that it's possible, that we can spend like that. My last year at Liverpool, so we obviously... So the Adidas deal, the new stadium, all these kind of things, yeah, they earn more money, but it was never ever I could have asked for the amount of money. But that's not a problem. That time, it was not there, no problem at all, really not. And I love the fact that we were as successful as we were and built new stands and build a training ground, because we talk now about a transfer window in the way you want to talk about it, spend a lot of money, but there's no discussion about the stands and no discussion about the training ground.
Simon, Danny, I mean, deep down, do you think Klopp thinks, God damn it, what I would have done with that money that they gave to Slot?
I don't think so. No, because he had such success and was held in such high regard. He probably wouldn't change anything. Maybe the odd final he lost, Champions League or something like that. But overall, what he did was nothing short. It makes it more remarkable, his success, because he was going against a powerhouse that he wasn't able to compete with financially, but he did from a football perspective. So it actually gives him more kudos in that respect. So no, I don't think so. I don't think he thinks too hard about it.
I mean, there's more to my mind, there's more pressure on Slot now, Simon, to do something with the money that Klopp would have craved.
Yeah, I mean, they're all under pressure when you manage Liverpool, irrespective of whether you spend a lot of money or you don't.
True.
I mean, he spent 400 million over 3 transfer windows, and we are obviously going to compartmentalize it into one transfer window. But the fact of the matter is, there's a net spend which is quite low. Some of that spend was forced upon him, one of them through tragedy and other circumstances. Yes, he's under pressure. I mean, I go to your question. I don't think so. I think Klopp has created a legacy for himself at Liverpool. He left Arne Slot an embarrassment of riches. Arne Slot certainly got a better hand than the one that was initially dealt to Jurgen Klopp by Brendan Rodgers. And Klopp reinvigorated Liverpool, reignited them. And the fans will say we never left the scene, but ultimately the fans' engagement and the way that he immersed himself in the culture of Liverpool and the heritage of this football club re-energised it to a level that Arne Slot has got the benefit a lot of.
Yeah.
And the expectation of Liverpool, obviously having won a Premier League title under him that hadn't been won for previously for the 20-odd years previous that the Premier League had existed.
Yeah.
I think Klopp is a remarkable football manager and also a very interesting man that can talk about other things than just football. Hence the reason why he's on a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, called Diary of a CEO.
Well, that's right. Actually, they get into what you could term as a sliding doors moment. And this certainly was one, because Bartlett drew Klopp out on the approach he had back in 2013 from Manchester United.
I spoke to them. So in the year when Sir Alex retired, they spoke to me. Yeah, of course they were interested at one point. So I was, that time, I would have been interested. I was I had a sensational team at Dortmund. My God. So they probably thought, what is he doing there? But there are some reasons what the people in that conversation told me, which I didn't like.
Oh, really?
So United was that big. We get all the players we want. We are like, we can this, we get him. And I was sitting there. So it was not my project. It didn't feel like it was the wrong time, but on top of that, it was not my project.
What would you?
I didn't want to bring back, I don't know, Pogba. Paul is a sensational player, my God, but these things don't work usually. But these kind of things, or Cristiano, my God, we all know that he's the best player, or together with Messi, the best player in the world. So, but bringing back never helps. In that time, in 2013, it was obviously not about Cristiano, maybe about Paula. I'm not even sure when we don't get the numbers together. But it was just the idea is we bring the best players together and then let's go.
It wasn't about the football.
No, not at all. And I sat there and it was like, nah, I am not sure. That's not for me. So, and then the pure football project comes up with Liverpool.
Wow. So he didn't fancy it, Danny, because he didn't want to hear Pogba coming back, Cristiano coming back, because it wasn't this pure project that he was seeking. And that wasn't the one at that time at United.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like he's probably saying he wasn't going to have his say enough in terms of you're just going to be given all the best players
right.
and then and that's not how he wanted,
right.
what he wanted at the time.
What does that tell us about Klopp?
Well, it tells you about how he was as a man at that time and what he wanted his next project to be. And everything's about timing, isn't it? Whether you're a player, whether you're a manager or anything in life, timing. And the Liverpool project at the time was perfect for him because it was something he needed to grow and something he needed to build, which is what he wanted. He didn't want the ready-made. He didn't want all the stars and all the...
Yeah.
You think of the players Liverpool signed under him and all the gems they found and how he moulded them into what he wanted. That's exactly how it worked for him. It's what he wanted. And it takes a unique character, I suppose, not to want it all handed to you on a plate.
Why are you looking so confused by this?
I find myself interrogating that observation. I don't know who you'd have had the conversation with. Maybe it would have been Ed Woodward, because at that end of that summer, they employed David Moyes, and they didn't sign any of those players.
No, they signed Fellaini.
They signed Fellaini and Juan Mata and spent 75 million quid. So I think there's a little bit of artistic license going on here.
No, he did say, yeah, you're right, because he did say he can't remember the timings about when Pogba and Ronaldo come back, because I think that was a bit later.
Yeah, so but Ronaldo came back 8 years later, and Pogba came back 3.5 years later.
Yeah, but I think
they didn't sign any of these so-called superstars that was ultimately going to pollute the idea. I mean, surely if you're the manager of Dortmund, by the way, I'm not sure how you'd be talking to Man United, did Dortmund give you permission? But I'm sure they did. Right? But anyway, going past that, into the territory of what you were being told, it's interesting how that story finds its way now into the desires. I mean, I don't know if has he done a book, Klopp, and written about it previously, but I would have thought that Klopp would have said, and it would have been manna to heaven to Ed Woodward, who was a bean counter, right? Let's have it right. His job was to make Man United economically more sustainable. Don't need any of those players. Don't want any of that. I can bring you success without you spending any money. And Ed Woodward would have gone, oh, no, I'm Penfold from accounts. I want you to spend as much money as you possibly can. I have to say, I'm going to take some of that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But as you get, you talk about stuff that's gone on years before, and maybe it's embellished.
But it's an interesting revelation. I mean, ultimately, I thought, like the Witchfinder General, I thought Alex Ferguson was the manager finder general, and that he had anointed David Moyes, and David Moyes was always going to be the person that they took into play. And obviously now we find out of left field that Jurgen Klopp was there, because it makes the story even more wonderful for Liverpool, doesn't it? That he turned Manchester United down because he didn't like that project.
Well, I don't think he'd lie about that.
No, and
embellish might be embroider,
but it is
exaggerate.
No, he said he spoke to them.
Nonetheless,
you
Simon,
wouldn't make that up.
But if you spoke to somebody about a job, I mean, first and foremost, he was a Borussia Dortmund manager. So why would you be speaking to somebody about a job in 2012 when you're under contract with someone else, unless Dortmund gave him permission, which I'm assuming...
Well, I think what he did at Dortmund, if my memory serves me correctly, is that he said that was going to be his last season, and he managed them and then left, said he was going.
Could have been a casual conversation.
Well, 2013, he had 2 more years there, didn't he?
Over a croissant somewhere. But anyway, that's a fact. And the fact of the matter is, though, Simon, it was a sliding doors moment nonetheless.
Why?
Because had Klopp said, in the year when Sir Alex retired,
Yeah, we could be in a very different place now.
We could have been in a very different place now.
That's assuming they were offering the job. They might be just having a tea and croissant and a little chat with him about his world view.
Yeah.
And how he created this wonderful team in Dortmund that everybody wanted to emulate.
Yeah, but we might never have
sliding
seen
doors
Mourinho,
moments in life.
Van Gaal, etc., Ten Hag. Klopp might still be there.
Or he might have been caught in the casualty of a Man United decline, and Klopp may not be this folk hero of Liverpool.
Yeah.
So actually, it could have been a demise of Jurgen Klopp. So he managed to dodge a bullet there.
Thank you for that.
Wouldn't it be?
If Simon had decided to spend all his money he spent on Palace on a media, but he could own this building and be in art, we could be employed by him right now.
God forbid. Anyway, Jurgen Klopp did not end up at Manchester United, and we know a whole bunch of high-profile individuals did. The latest of whom is Ruben Amorim, who appears momentarily to be getting it right. We're heading towards 1 o'clock.
play again inside the penalty area. And it's two. And Salah tiptoes his way through.
Arne Slot's lost 4 games in a row in charge of Liverpool. That doesn't happen very often.
Long ball forward into the area. Batshuayi!
I think they've the quality to be the next best team that are not Bayern in the Bundesliga.
Eric Dyer from the penalty spot has drawn Monaco level. Kudus comes back in on his left foot, draws the ball down low to the left and produces a brilliant finish.
Clearly want to attack, it's clearly want to create, but we need to be able to get clean sheets. We need to do that.
In comes the corner, it's flicked on at the near post and João Pedro is there to head it in. Balls into the area along the deck, it's in! It's in! Brilliant by Val Beckles!
It's a club that in the past, in the present, they always try to play their kind of football, so for sure will be a difficult game.
Another huge night of Champions League action tonight. Chelsea take on Ajax. Live on talkSPORT, we have Frankfurt against Liverpool, and live on talkSPORT 2, Monaco against Thomas Frank's Spurs. And of course, that is where we'll park our tanks before we leave you today, because Spurs, when you look at it, have only got 4 points at home out of a possible 12. And that is in sharp contrast to their away form, where they've won 3 and drawn 1. This is Thomas Frank going into this game tonight as to where he thinks he is with his Spurs side.
I think it's fair to say that we are relatively early days in the time with all of us together here. I think there is, in my opinion, a lot of progress in a lot of areas. For example, I think we defended fantastic against Villa overall, and I think we in general look very good in high pressure, aggressive. I think we're very aggressive, very intense against Villa as well. And I think offensively we still scored quite a few goals. If you compare that to the league, which is about to get them into the back of the net, then you could say that play, let's say, 3 games in a row with completely free-floating top football. How many teams do that right now in the Premier League? If you can name me 3, it'll be nice. But we and I are aiming for the perfect game every single game. That's what we want to do. But we know what we are working at, and I think we're progressing nicely.
So he knows what he wants, Danny. Of course he does. He's a top manager. But has it been a solid but unspectacular start for him?
Well, I think the general feeling is positive. I think it's obvious what they're trying to do when you watch them play. I thought they were a bit unlucky against Villa, actually. I watched the game. They played pretty well for most of it and missed some chances. But their home form's a bit of a concern. For me, watching them at times, they're heavily reliant on Kudus for creativity. There's not a lot of creativity in the team other than him. Missing Maddison. Because Simmons is a bit different. He's not quite hit the ground running. And they are struggling to open up teams or finish off any chances they get. So I know they've got some players injured in that respect as well, and they've just brought Muani in, who's going to start getting in minutes. Solanke's got to come back.
Yeah.
But overall, positive. I think he's a terrific manager. I like the fact he's adaptable. He doesn't always play the same way. They generally try and play because they've got some good players, but the set pieces have been good. He'll put the ball in the box from anywhere. No problem with that, like we talked about earlier. And I think there's more to come from them. I think there's a lot to like about what he's trying to do there. And overall, I think other than that defeat at the weekend, the fans have been pretty happy.
Yeah. Do you think long term this is going to be a good fit? Thomas Frank.
I think I'm erring more on the optimistic side. I mean, obviously, people will say now that the ownership has changed its direction under Daniel, and you've got potentially more money being made available, which means they'll have more ambition. They might change their wage structure, which means that they can get better players into the building, which will give any manager a better opportunity. I mean, playing in front of Tottenham, I was talking to various Tottenham fans that felt the atmosphere inside the stadium was very stilted. Against Aston Villa, that I don't know whether that's the fans are not happy about something or
just one thing on that, Simon. It's worth interjecting on is that I obviously go to a lot of games. I remember playing a lot of games. Sunday lunchtime games always felt like that. They're dead Sunday lunchtime games. Maybe fans haven't got time to go and have a few pints, or what? It's just a weird one. I always felt that Sunday games had less electricity. It's like Saturday.
What, for the players or the fans?
Like the fans.
Yeah.
The atmosphere.
Right.
Right. It was a common theme people talked about when they played. It's like Sunday lunchtime games.
Tell me this before we all go in our different directions this lunchtime. Do you remember the losses, Danny, more than the wins in your career?
No.
Is there one? No, but come on, be honest.
There's one.
Is there one that stands out? You think, God damn it, we should have won that and we didn't.
Not that we should have won, but the Europa League final with Fulham after the journey we went on, it kind of felt like it was meant to be. We got done with 2 minutes to go in extra time. Maybe because I was captain as well, so from an egotistical point of view, very selfish point of view, trophies I'd won before.
Yeah.
I'd never been the captain.
Right.
And also it was an underdog story and nobody'd really given us a chance. So losing that one, I replay that one a lot, actually. That feeling. It was awful.
Really?
It felt horrendous, yeah. That was a bad one.
The reason I ask you, and this is something close to your heart, because you love your golf and you certainly love the Ryder Cup and the way it worked out for the European team, because they won the damn thing when it looked as if it's going to be a very tight finish, to say the least of it. Keegan Bradley, the US captain, has spoken for the first time. It's taken him days to even address it in public. And of course, we all know what happened. Europe won it 15-13 right at the death. And it was sweaty palms for everybody in that European team. But Keegan Bradley has come away with the effect it's had on him. And he said, there is no part of me that thinks that I will ever get over this. This effing event has been so brutal to me. And he is saying he is having real trouble moving on from it.
Well, I understand that when you're so passionate about something, and obviously it was a worldwide audience, and there's been a lot of criticism towards him because he made some absolutely baffling decisions, really baffling, from the golf aspect. And he probably has a deep-rooted regret in the fact that he would have played in it if he wasn't the captain, or he could have played in it even if he was the captain.
That's right. Yeah.
So he might never get that opportunity again. I mean, he's very unlikely to ever be the captain again, very unlikely. And to get to the level again to play in it, he's going to have to play some supreme golf in the next 2 years. So I understand that. Yeah, it might take him a bit of time. He'll get over it. I mean, he's, go and have a swim in his pool and his 10 million, 15 million pound house he lives in and go for a round of golf. He'll get over it. Let's not be...
You said in all honesty, do you regularly replay that Fulham final in your head?
I do, but it doesn't...
Keegan will be the same about that Ryder Cup.
Yeah, but you still get on with life, don't you?
You do.
The sun still rises. You still got to go and take the kids out and go to do your normal things. It doesn't stay there. You just get on with life.
Danny, you send all of us away with our feet very much on the ground after that. Thank you so much. Simon, I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Danny, I'll see you next Wednesday. And already I'm looking forward to it.
The same.
That's a lie. It's 1 o'clock.